I wouldn't drink a 5 hour energy
Oh, dude,
knowing
I do like
knowing
2
what
a
I know
day,
now.
and my heart's like,
Yeah, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't drink a 5 hour energy at any age.
oh, dude, I'm gonna jam my heart one of these days. I gotta slow down. I redline myself too much.
Yeah, because when you're young, you throw caution to the wind and treat your body with reckless abandon. So I've drank many a 5 hour energy in Celsius and all manner of energy drink, and then eventually you start to feel the repercussions of that. Because if
Oh,
I slam a Celsius now, I can't, like, I'm awake, but I can't do anything. Like, I'm just sitting at my desk at work, just freaking out because I'm like, oh, this might be what does it.
so I had similar experience. That's why I have such a kinship with you that you don't know. Is like I got hooked on Celsius. Sugar is my thing. I don't alcohol I can quit, drugs, but sugar. So when I tasted a Celsius and I was like, I can get stimulus, caffeine, and a sugary drink flavor, and it says it's good for me.
Yeah, it's
I was
got
taking like 4
ginseng
a
or
day, and at
something.
one point, by like like at I was like, whatchamacallit, I was like limitless at first, where I was getting so much done when I had the first one. And then it turns into skooma from fucking whatchamacallit, Skyrim, where you just need it to survive, and then you start
Mhm.
taking it and it just makes you tired and you take it, you just want to take a nap and your heart's going 100 miles an hour, but you feel tired.
Yeah. You like your body's awake. You're by all metrics, you're awake,
Yeah.
but your mind and soul are very weary on a Celsius.
I think the problem for me too is because I had like a very stressful childhood, that caffeine and 5 hour energy makes me feel normal.
Right.
Like, and when I get calm and I'm relaxed, I feel like this is unsettling. I don't feel right now. I need to feel hyper and on high alert.
I know that feeling. That's like, I guess it's just like growing up with, might be the poverty mindset,
Yeah.
cuz my dad was he was able to eke out like a decent life. Like, he did okay for himself. He's still alive. He does okay for himself.
Still does.
But
Yeah.
he grew up in like a pretty rough and tumble. Like, you would, like, talking to him, you would think he grew up in the 1800s, but
Yep.
he just grew up in the middle of nowhere, poor.
No, my dad grew up on a dairy farm in Iowa. So I didn't fully understand it until I did my cross country trip and I stopped in Nebraska. And these women were just tearing apart this guy that went to Vietnam and never came home to the farm. Like he was an asshole. And I was
Right.
like, oh, my family hated my father and he never made amends, like emotionally. And I didn't understand that for farmers, that's a big deal. And my dad
Really.
did that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got one uncle that's a farmer, but he's pretty distant. But I know, like, something about the growing up either in poverty or the descendant of generational poverty. There's this constant feeling that the if like I get that feeling where, like, if you start to relax or calm down or enjoy yourself, you remind yourself, like, no, wait, no, I need to be worried about something.
Oh, my dad grew up in poverty. And then at 17, his father got hit by a train and he died. And then at 18, he went to Vietnam as a Navy corpsman. He came back, married my mom, who fled Nazi Germany,
Wow.
Greece. And so my household was just washcloth and Greek accent on like PTSD growing up. So I think,
Nice.
yes. So take it easy on me, guys. I did pretty well.
Yeah, Dave, you did my household was like the first. My dad and all of his, like, brothers and sisters are the first generation of that family to start to have like a comfortable life.
Yep.
Like, prior to that, it was all just like living in shacks, bootlegging, shitting in outhouses. Nobody had any money, or the money they did have was in a mattress. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I want to reiterate something. My mother was in Greece and Nazis were causing issues, so they left. I don't want people
Right.
thinking that I am part German, but I don't want people thinking I'm a Jew. Just I don't want to lose
Right.
half my followers on Twitter.
Right.
Kidding, guys. It's a comedy podcast.
Yo,
We
speaking
can
of
talk about
speaking of Jewish Greeks, I've been it's not even like I'm enjoying it necessarily, but have you watched that show Chaos on Netflix?
I got rid of Netflix a while ago. Is it good? Tell me about it.
It's a reimagining of Greek mythology where it took me a while to figure out what was going on because it's set in like modern times.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was like all the Greek gods still existed, but no, it's stories that we've read, but just people have iPhones, I guess. You know what I mean?
They made modern day versions of the Greek mythology tales.
Yes. So it's like like
So
Zeus.
Aphrodite has got like a Tinder account and she's like swiping on
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, like Dionysus is cruising for gay sex in like a dive bar bathroom.
Oh, yeah, I should have guessed. Do we want to check the early lives of the people that produced that?
Well, here's the thing. Zeus is played by Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
So
I actually saw that. That really frustrated me because, like, what's his face got skinny. I don't really care that he's selling out to Hollywood, but I guess you got to do what you got to do. But what's the guy there from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Chris Pratt.
No, Dave Bautista.
Oh, Dave Bautista. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Greek, and he lost a lot of weight, which I admired him for because I was like, you can't be on PEDs. I grew up in powerlifting and then around bodybuilders, and they do a lot of stuff that does a lot of damage to you. And so being like the rock size is not healthy. So Baptiste actually losing that weight is actually pretty responsible at his age instead of continuously pushing him and ended up like, having an issue even with the science or whatever. And so then I was like, oh, let me tune into him. I was like, oh, and now he's dressing gay and he's I was like, just when I had some hope for one of my Greek brothers.
I still think, I'm not as closed minded as you are, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm a little more open.
Yeah.
But also, I do think, from what I've seen of Bautista in his post wrestling career as an actor, I think he has a legitimate shot at an Oscar nomination within the next decade.
It sure seems like it. He's like picking a political side. He's dressing different.
I'm talking about his ability. He's talented. He's a very captivating actor. I
thought that too, but it's obviously he doesn't have any faith in himself, because why would you want to alienate half of your audience by making a political decision? I don't care his political decision, but I'm saying, why would you alienate half your audience by making one? Is what I don't understand anybody doing.
That's Hollywood for you, but
that's what I'm saying. It seems like he wants to play the ball.
He is legitimately he's not just a good actor for a wrestler. He's he's a legitimately good actor. Like, he's very captivating in everything I've seen him in.
Like I said, when I watched the interview about why he was losing weight, and I read in between the lines because they don't really talk about all the PEDs that they do to get these roles in such a short amount of time, and how they're like, they're using regulated and illegal drugs.
Rolls. Have you ever been to Texas Roadhouse? Have you ever had their rolls?
No, not.
They bring them to you right away. You get those in a pretty short amount of time. So
I've been vegan since 2015, and like, you get to a point where you're like, I'm never looking back. I'm never eating meat or anything like that. But then there is certain things that come up that you're like, man, I never got to do that.
Can you have butter?
I can have non-dairy butter. Oh, I can have whatever I want. I choose.
I'm telling you, you got it.
Choose not to. But there is certain things that come up when people are like, have you tried, this, that, and the other thing? And I was like, man, I didn't try it before that age, so I'll never have it.
Go ahead and just cross your fingers behind your back and go to Texas Roadhouse and just have you a basket of rolls. Just be like, I'm just here for here's $20. Just keep bringing me rolls. I can't get anything off this menu.
I get it. I get it. I can probably look it up online and make an alternative. If it was just a diet, and if it was, I'm not plant based. If it was plant based, then yeah, I would just cross my fingers and get sick. But it's a philosophical thing. I heard
Right.
you were trying to get into some philosophy. Do you like it?
Yes. Because I saw this because I've read philosophy before, but like the
Yep.
stuff I've read has been like recent stuff, like Baudrillard and Wittgenstein and all that. And so I saw this guy saying like that can be counterproductive with philosophy. That philosophy is one of those practices or fields or whatever you want to call it that it behooves you to start earlier and then work your way to those Derrida, Kierkegaard, all that.
Yeah.
So I googled who's the first guy, the first philosopher.
Yeah.
And so the first one that many people would think of would be Aristotle.
Well, I would say Socrates, but I understand. Yeah. So I think Socrates, Plato, Aristotle.
Right. Well, those guys, those are the guys.
Yeah.
But I found this one where it's like there's not even anything I think he ever wrote down, but this
Socrates didn't write anything down either.
Right, but I guess there was more records of Socrates tooling around and saying things because the one I found was this guy that was like their predecessor.
Yeah.
That they kind of learned from named Thales. But there's from this book I got from that I've read like 100 pages of so far. It seems like Thales. There's only one sentence that's attributed to him.
Yeah. So, like similar to myself, I didn't really study anybody. I kind of got the idea of like some first principles, and then I just sat with this stuff and kind of worked it out myself, which I highly don't recommend. It's very time consuming. And if it's not your passion, it's like you better just to find some people that you trust and kind of see what makes sense and what doesn't. But coming out of having my I don't even think of it as a mental breakdown. At the time I did because that's what they labeled it. But now I just felt I think it was just like a breaking out of, it's like when your whole life flashes in front of you and you're like, oh, everything I've been told's a fucking lie. And what can I grab onto that's the truth?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I had that feeling.
And my mind just couldn't, once that was broken, I couldn't find anything to grasp onto. And then luckily I found philosophy and built the foundation and got back up. And when you're doing it, it's a disaster. It's like, I mean, I got the beard and the shaved head now, but it's like Kratos climbing out of Hades. It's like you go to hell.
That's the hardest level in the first game.
Yeah. Which they did a really good job on those games because it should be. Right.
I think it's poor level design, actually. Have you played it?
I played a long time. I played the one where you have to fight Ares at the end.
That's the first. So yeah. So in the first game,
on the PlayStation,
in the first game, there's that sequence where you go through the temple that's on Kronos's back.
Yeah.
To get the Pandora's box, and then Ares throws that thing and kills Kratos. So then you go to Hades, and you got to go through all of Hades.
Yeah.
There's this one segment in that level that I think was just designed poorly. That's like unnecessarily punishing, where you have to climb this wall that has these oscillating blades on it, and you have like a very, very small like margin of error. Like if you move the wrong way just a little bit, you'll get knocked off and have to start all over. And so it's
I don't remember doing that. So maybe I got through it.
Maybe it's just the Greek in you. You just naturally intuited how to do it.
My DNA just locked in.
Because like most people you talk to about that game will say it's great, except for that one part that's like just totally unforgiving to the point where it almost breaks the game.
Did you ever play the regular Nintendo?
Yes.
Before your time. Did you ever play Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, that one's very difficult.
I never beat it. There's a part of that game that I even went back when I was an adult, when I had YouTube to look stuff up. we have to make this huge jump, and there's like a bird. So you're like up on this wall with very limited space. There's a dove that comes in, and you have to fly. And if you hit the dove the wrong way, you just like do that invisible thing and get shot back, and you fall and die. And what you have to do is hit the dove at the right time that thing knocks you that way, so you can grab onto the cliff, I guess. And I could never make it. I've never beat
Right.
the game.
Yeah, when I was a kid, so probably around the same age that you were playing the NES, we had Xbox, and on the first Xbox they had come out with a new Ninja Gaiden,
Okay.
and it was notoriously difficult because that was back in the day when G4 was still on TV. That was still a
Gotcha.
channel, and so
Olivia Munn and
mhm.
the other chick
she
was hot
she
too.
wasn't even on there yet. This was early on.
Oh yeah, the
It
other
was
chick was hot too, and she doesn't get enough credit because Olivia Munn was on there, but I can't remember her name.
you talking about the lady on X Play, Morgan Webb?
Yes, yeah,
Yes, because that was what I watched. I always liked that show better than Attack of the Show. And I remember like when that Ninja Gaiden came out, it was all the buzz on G4. Everybody said it's a great game, but get ready, it's going to make you very stressed. It's
yeah.
you're going to throw the controller across the room.
That was my whole childhood. They have gotten rid of that.
Right.
The only thing I could think maybe comparable for you guys is if you played World of Warcraft Vanilla, they did a really good job of making it difficult in a good way where the level structure and having to party and having to group and learning that you're solo, but then you need to party with people, then you need to party with more people. And then as they needed to bring in more people to support the project, they just kept dumbing it down until it's like you felt like, oh, I wasted all that time in vanilla because now people can buy a character that's 60.
Right. Well, it sounds like you haven't played any of the From Software games, the Souls.
I played Dark Souls.
You played Dark Souls
on Xbox. So I bought an Xbox just to play. I think it was actually Dark Souls, and I bought this thick hardcover book that I ended up using and being able to sell for like $100 on eBay because it was rare to get.
Nice.
And I like Dark Souls.
Great investment strategy.
Yeah. Well, I just liked not cheating. You know what I mean? Oh right. yeah. This is financial advice.
This is financial advice.
You take care of your video. Actually, this is how I got all my seed money once I needed to restart my businesses. As I had saved my original Nintendo with the receipt from Apex in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, where I bought it for $99.99 plus tax. I had my original Nintendo 64 with the receipt and the plastic and everything. And when I sold those on eBay and I put them on there for a bid, they were going up so high that I had to take all my other listings down because I had them on there for too cheap because I had like Zelda in the original box and everything. And when it was all said and done, I sold everything and I made over $30,000 selling all my childhood games.
Dude, this secondary market for video games now is upsetting because you'll see I'll go on Twitter and somebody will post like they're at some game store and it'll be like a copy of Marvel versus Capcom 2, which, but you know, for a while there you would go to GameStop and when it was expensive, it was like $80 used. It was a difficult game to find after its initial release, and it was just on the secondary market. Now you'll see copies of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 going for like $250, $300.
Yeah. There was this, so I started doing the Gary V yard sale flipping after that. And I was just going and just buying Nintendo 64 games for the most part. And there was a lot of Chinese ripoffs that I didn't know about. So I had to learn, and I probably couldn't even do it anymore because I even had to take it to stores because it was difficult to figure out. You'd have to unscrew them and look inside to see if it was a copy or not. And the same thing with Game Boys, the little cartridges. They was rare. They would make fake ones.
That was a thing at GameStop for a while. Like you would go buy like a Pokemon game and put it in, and it would say something like Pokemon Obelisk or something. It would be like some fucking mod.
Well, I had found clay fighters
Hell
for
yeah.
Nintendo 64. And there's two versions, I guess. And I never played this game growing up. I found this when I was flipping. One of them's worth like 15, $20. The other worth like $300 to $400, depending on condition.
Yeah, I think there was a like Blockbuster exclusive, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
so I found one of those. I was super excited. I cleaned it all up. I took awesome pictures. I went online. I sold the thing. Then the guy said, "Oh, I got it. It's fake. I want to return it." So I said, "Okay." So then he returned it, and I didn't know if he had a fake one and he took the real one and fucked me. You know what I mean? Fucked me over.
Right.
So what you have to do is like take pictures of the inside with like a date in front of it, so you're shipping it out. And so when they return it, it's got to look the same, so you can file complaints and all this stuff. And so then I just quit, but I didn't realize there's like a whole black, and there's not, it's such a big industry that there's a black fake market of people scamming each other by making fake copies of them.
Yeah. And the whole market really only exists to exploit the autistic in this country, because every single one of these games you could just like download for free and play them on your computer if you want.
Well, I think it's the people that are, so I'm autistic, similar to maybe like Crack Amico, where I'm like emotionalist. Like it exploits the nostalgic autistic people. Like
Right.
I was more than happy to turn my whole childhood into money with no second thought about it, because I was like, I can just go on the emulators now. I was only keeping these so that I can continue to play them now and again. And
Right. But there's people who like feel like they have to have the console and the physical game and all that. I got a cousin who's like balls deep in debt because he's like trying to collect every like TurboGrafx 16 game.
if you're playing competition, I actually found out that there's a reason why that you want a tube television in the original game and stuff. It has something to do with lag or latency when you're practicing. But besides that, I mean, all the emulators, they're there for fun. So I didn't understand this until like actually crypto helped me understand the social element of life and nostalgia and all that stuff. And maybe this will sound stupid that everybody figured it out before me, but I couldn't figure out why people would spend so much. But if they're trying to, remember their childhood where they felt safe and now they're an adult, they can create like a man cave that's like a baby cave, like play their baby games as like Mario Brothers and stuff. Like,
yeah, there's like a as far as like on the consumer level, like the
no offense to anybody here that does that. I was making an old Cumtown joke about baby games.
No, man caves are cool.
Yeah,
sure they are. No, on the I guess like the way people are now, because this is something you can like track just through I guess like pop culture, like movies. You can kind of see this develop because there's a in the movie Network. You've seen Network with Faye Dunaway and the other guy.
I don't think so. Remind me. I've seen Boiler Room. That's the only one.
Network is the one where it's the news anchor who finds out he's going to get Faye Dunaway takes over this network, and she's like, "We got to shake it up. We got to."
Oh, I figured out. I'm just having a Sal moment when you said that. Like I was like, "Oh, with Kramer, you and Weird Al."
Yeah.
When you started explaining it with my brain, like,
yeah, that's a similar movie. Yeah. The network is Faye Dunaway takes over this network. This like fictional network for the movie. So in the world of the movie, there's NBC, CBS, and then the network that you're paying that's in the movie is UBS. There's this anchor that's been there for a while. He finds out he's going to get fired. So on his one of his last broadcasts, like leading up to his final day, he says,
"Is this Jeff Daniels?"
No, no, that's the Newsroom.
Okay.
Network is a '70s movie.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now.
But so he says that he's gonna here in the next like week or two on one of his final broadcasts, he's gonna commit suicide live on air, and so then the rating starts going way up. Everybody's tuning in now, and then he becomes this big sensation. And Faye Dunaway is like, we gotta keep.
And Faye Dunaway. This is star-studded back then.
Yeah, Faye Dunaway is like, yo, this is so good for Ray. We're making so much money. We gotta keep doing whatever he's doing, keep it going. And there's this line where one of the old heads at the network, one of the older executives who is wary of what Faye Dunaway's up to, he makes a comment where he's like, she's from this this generation that was raised on Bugs Bunny,
Yeah.
And then so that's like one example of what I'm talking about. And then cut to and I've talked about this before, Child's Play 3. Have you seen Child's Play 3?
So when I was a kid, Child's Play was like right on the cusp of me being afraid of it. And by the time 3 came out, I was past it where if you didn't want to, like, it was like a comedy at that point, and there was other comedies.
They were always comedies. They were very funny.
Not when I was young. Like when Child's Play 1 came out, that actually scared me.
Yes, when you're young, those seem like the scariest thing ever. And then I think when you get older, you can appreciate how funny they are.
Everything that I had to buy when I was young, growing up, I had to pay for my own with my own money. And so I had a bunch of birthday money saved up. And I don't know why, but I saw a ventriloquist dummy in a
Dude, I didn't know we had so much in common. I had that.
So it's like, man, do I want to buy a ventriloquist dummy? Or do I want to take karate? And I was like, dude, I'm going to become the best ventriloquist ever.
I had that same fantasy as a kid.
And like I must have been like 6 or 7, maybe 8, because it was before 1985, because it was in my house in the old house. But anyways, so I bought this ventriloquist dummy and I practicing with it. And it was the tuxedo with the mouth, and it was used so the mouth would kind of fall out, and I'd have to figure out how to put it back in. And my dad said, when he had time, he would put a new string in it because there was like a wire that was broken in the head or whatever. But anyways, I spent all my money on it. I was playing with it, couldn't figure it out. And then at nighttime, because I didn't have any toys, I only had like a skateboard and like a
you just had a barren room with a dummy staring at you.
Yeah, so I had this barren dummy. So I'm like, oh man, I can put it in the closet. So I put it in the closet, and then I was like, I know it's moving in the air now. So I was like, I don't open the closet so I can check on it. So I moved it and sat it on something so I could watch it in the closet, but I wanted it in the closet. And then I got back into bed, but it hadn't settled yet. But like my child brain didn't understand this at the time. And so it fell forward and I was like, fuck, it's alive. And I just ran the fuck out of there. I knock on my parents' room. I'm like, I got to sleep in here. And my dad's like, it's that dummy. I told you that's what I'm buying. Go in.
See, if you were business minded, you would tell the dummy, like, hey man, I need you to help me out. Throwing your voice is hard. Like, I need you to start pulling your weight around here.
The imagination at that age, like I said, I grew up. We were always outdoors, so I did have a bike. I wasn't like in utter poverty, but I had a bike, a baseball glove, and I had one of those skinny skateboards, and that's it. So this doll was a big deal, and I spent all my money on it. And then I was like, we got to take it back. And my mother's like, they don't take returns. It's a thrift store. And I was like, what am I going to do with it? And she was like, we'll figure it out. And then I just came home one day and my dad threw it in the trash. I threw it in the trash. Yeah. But anyways, so I didn't have a really good experience when Child's Play came on.
Okay. When because Don Mancini created Child's Play as like almost kind of a response to the way toys were starting to be marketed to kids.
Yeah.
Specifically the Cabbage Patch dolls, I believe. And so in part 3, so all the murders have happened in the first 2, and then part 3, they've have had the good guy dolls been discontinued for some time because there's all these murders that are associated with the doll. I guess like they don't know that the doll's alive, but there was always a doll nearby when these murders happened, so nobody wants to buy it anymore, and they discontinued it. And now the company is like thinking about bringing it back. They want to start producing it again, and they're having this like boardroom meeting, and the head of the company makes this like very poignant social commentary, for a movie about a killer doll. It's like very pertinent, where he says something to the effect of like, well, children are consumers in training, is what he says, and that's always like stuck with me, because if you look at like now, that's only become exacerbated where like, and I see this a lot with my generation, like all these people that grew up with this, all this stuff we enjoyed as kids, they're not letting it go. So these companies are continuing to get like more and more money for the just recycling the same shit that we were begging our moms to buy us 30 years ago. But now my generation, those with disposable income, so not me, are going out and still buying like,
I don't know, with your stock trading, I've seen you dispose of a lot of income.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like all these people in their 30s are going out and buying fucking Lego sets for what SpongeBob or whatever, and Funko Pops and all that stuff. So it's like this recursive feedback loop where now it's not just the kids, it's like the grown-ups who never stop being kids as well, just funneling money into these things. And then with that it creates this secondary market we were talking about where they also want to own the original from however long ago. So they're looking on eBay or going to game stores or whatever and going to rebuy something they probably had as a kid that they don't have anymore. Where they're like, oh, I remember I had a Dreamcast as a kid. I'm going to go spend $500 on one now.
Yeah. So couple things. This is right. I was right on the cusp. So we were outside they would like kick us outside and not let us back in until like it was dark. So if you weren't at school, when you got home, they just kicked you out. You just played in the neighborhood. You scavenged for food at your friend's house or whatever. Whoever's yard you were playing at when lunch came around, they threw some food at you, at least in like my neighborhood. But my sister, she was in front of the TV and she was the like Nickelodeon. So she started getting a lot of the toy ads and stuff. And I think I saw a lot more of that in her than me. The only time would be early morning. I used to watch Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Like they didn't have cartoons all the time. If you wanted to watch cartoons, there was only a couple hours I could watch it on Saturday mornings. Now you can watch the stuff that I had to wait till Saturday you could goon and watch that for 24 hours straight right now.
You can watch
at your fingertips.
You can watch Scooby-Doo porn. You can watch Scooby hitting Velma from the back.
Yeah.
I see the banner ads every time I go on X videos. I'm like, oh, there's Barney and Wilma.
Yeah. So I'm a libertarian capitalist. I think the market should decide, but a lot of this stuff is not technically market decided. There's a lot of interference, but I do feel like Bernie Sanders sometimes when he's like, why do you need so many deodorants? And it's like, yeah, why do you need so many videos, guys? What's going on here? There's so much content of stuff that I watch a lot of content is like, as far as comedy is concerned. And when I talk to like normal people, they're like, man, you watch a lot of podcasts and a lot of whatever. I'm like, yeah, but you watch a lot of Netflix. It's the same thing. And then I think about, I'm still not even on the fringe of the crazy stuff that's on the internet that people watch. I watch some of this anime stuff or like some of the stuff you were talking about. Yeah. People like, look at this weird, like lolcow. And there's like a whole, or even the live streamers, like those guys that overreact to everything.
I Show Speed.
Yeah. Like those guys are in the way fringe of my peripheral. Like I'm online a lot and that's like still in the peripheral of what I see. So there's a huge like metaverse online right now of a world that exists.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, if you're just like tuning into your favorite podcasts, and if what that amounts to is like skanks and skanks adjacent stuff, that's like normie shit almost.
Well, like they had
wait a second, $5 from Brosa Smith, Scooby Goon. Thank you.
Scooby Goon, huh? Oh, can you guys hear this? Oh no.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Oh, why can't I hear it?
Yeah, folks, feel free to get.
Okay, sorry. I can hear it now.
Feel free to give me money. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of like.
Okay, guys, give Dalton money. If you
Yeah.
guys give Dalton $5, then I'm gonna drink water the rest of the show. But if you want to watch me give myself a heart jammer, donate $20 and I'll down a 5-hour energy extra strength with watermelon in it.
There you go, folks.
I'm 50 years old and you can see my high blood pressure right now. So if you want to watch a grown man die,
Yeah, you look like Wooly Willy. You ever go to Cracker Barrel and buy yourself a Wooly Willy?
No, we had the magnet game. I used to have the magnet game when I was a kid. They used to come in our Christmas stockings.
Yeah, that's the one at Cracker Barrel where it's got the little the magnet thing, and you would drag the metal shavings to do them up.
Oh, dude, that was like a huge. If some kid in the neighborhood got that, that was huge for me growing up. Yeah. Once I hit like 1985, things got took off. I moved neighborhoods and stuff, and my buddy got a Nintendo. I get a Nintendo. My dad got an Atari actually prior to that, and I remember playing Space Invaders, and I was like, "That's it, dude. We're rich. We fucking made it. I'm playing Atari, dude. I'm playing Space Invaders."
Hell yeah, yeah. I had because I got an N64 when I was like 4. I grew, I had very loving parents.
That was probably my favorite system.
Yeah, and I remember that was like at the beginning of like retro nostalgia, I guess, because I remember my mom even who at that time was not really, none of my parents were interested in video games, but my mom was insistent upon buying this it was like a Namco collection game they had where it came with like Pac-Man and Galaga or whatever, Dig Dug. There was like 6 games on one cartridge.
Yeah,
and I do remember being like that age where like my generation was getting Mario 64 or whatever, but then spending like a lot of time playing the games my parents grew up playing.
Yeah. So I played on like regular Nintendo. I spent a lot of time on regular Mario 2 and 3. And then when 3 came out, that was revolutionary. Me and my buddies played 3, and you could like play on the board at different times where Mario is like you'd play, and if somebody was really good at it and you died really quick, you got 2 seconds, whatever. With Mario 3, it was turn-based, and you're on this like board. I don't know if you ever played it on the regular Nintendo.
Which one?
Mario World 3 on regular NES.
Yeah. I've played that one.
Like a map where like you would play, and if you beat whereas when you played the regular 1-2-player, like the guy could be playing for 30 minutes, and then if you messed up on the one fireball, like that's it, and the other guy gets 30 more minutes. But Nintendo 64 had both the Zeldas. It had Mario World, which is just insane, and then it had Banjo and Kazooie's.
Hell yeah!
And then 007 was like, what the fuck is this? This is what's going on when that came out. Because there was nothing like that prior to that.
Yeah. Have you seen what's happening now? Because like all these big developers, there's like a lot of the focus with the big like game developers is on basically like fidelity. Like, they're focusing on like making the games look better and better.
Yeah.
But the games themselves seemingly are not fun. It seems like nobody's enjoying them. They're like, cool, I can see the pores in this guy's nose.
Yes.
But the game fucking sucks.
That's like Diablo. Like Diablo 2 has almost just as many players as the new Diablos that come out. And it's still pretty bad graphics. But the game just kicks ass. And
right.
It's the economy is left to its own devices, and it's still running for people to play. But the new one, it's like, you can do a tattoo, a scar here, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And people spend hours. I'm just like random character, random name, LFG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not trying to spend all my time building a character that I can only see the top of their head.
So let me ask you guys this, because Pat Buchanan said this. I thought he was a fucking lunatic at the time when I was young, and then as I got older, Do you think a lot of this transgenderism,
Okay,
dieting, modification and stuff, hold on, is from kids growing up playing video games and like being able to manipulate their character, and they're like, this character is super cool. I'm plain compared to what I can manipulate in video game world. And they just want to experiment with what they look like in real life. So they're doing all sorts of modifications of all sorts. Like, because I had friends like growing up, this is going to be weird, but there was a time in video games where men played men characters and women played women characters in it. And then somewhere along the line, some dude was like, "Hey, I could play a woman character," and some woman was like, "Yeah, I could play a male character," and it like didn't cross anybody's mind up until that point. I know it sounds strange, like for you guys that probably think about, but so I don't know. I it's freedom and it's liberty for individuals, but I do think that uh, art imitates life and vice versa.
I don't know. I think people more and more want more. I think there's like I don't know. I think people want more autonomy over their own body, where to the point where they want to be able to like customize.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think it'd be like Ghost in the Shell, where it had
so I'm going to be 50 in March, and I was recently in Utah, and I was hanging out with my buddy's grandkid, who's 7, I think, and he was playing Roblox. And so I was like, "Hey, bud, what are you playing?" He's like, "Roblox."
Did you, by the way, did you see the news that just broke out today?
No.
Where I saw a headline. I didn't read the whole article, but the headline said Roblox high for pedophiles.
Well, so I was so. Do you know what it is?
No, not really. I know it's like Kanye was into it. That was like the inspiration for that
So I
that
thought it was.
music video he came out with a few years ago.
So I thought it was going to be like Minecraft, and like Minecraft is actually pretty cool because you can do so much with all the elements, and you're messing around, and it's just a building game. So I don't know the full story of Roblox, but he explained it from a 7-year-old's opinion. So I'm just watching him, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "So." This kid was staying at his grandparents' house for the night, and we were all taking him ATV into the things. And so his brothers were back home, and his younger brother wanted to hang out. So he said, "Will you play Roblox with me?" So I was like, "Yeah." So I was like, "Okay, you got to get points. What are you doing?" He's like, "No, we're going to role play a family." So I'm like, "Okay." So I'm watching him play in the tablet, and literally they're just in a house, they're characters, and he's like laying in bed on a like a handheld device in the game. And then he gets up, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm going to the bathroom." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'll wait here." He's like, "No, in the game." So he just goes to the bathroom and he washes his hands. And I was like, "Oh, what's the quest?" And he's like, "I was just washing my character's hands." And what are you doing now? I was like, "I'm going to go back to my room." I was like, "What's the game?" And he's like, "We're role playing a family." And I was like, "So what are you doing?" So he's literally just laying in bed, washing his hands, turning the TV on and off in a video game.
I guess that is a fantasy now for the generations that are not going to be able to afford to have a family.
So he does have a family, this kid. So he's got a really good family. He's got a mother, brothers, they all get along. So then I kind of got it more though, because he gets out and he goes to the garage and there's an ATV or like a golf cart in there. And he hops on the golf cart and it's like 10 o'clock at night in the game. And he gets out and he starts driving around the streets. So I was like, "Oh, Zach, I get it now." It's like, "So are you like this because in real life you can't just get up and drive your car out in the streets at nighttime, but in the game you can?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can do whatever I want in the game and no one tells me what to do. So I can just do whatever." So even at that age, they're getting enjoyment out of still being in a family,
Right.
but having freedom to do stuff that they can't do. And it's very crude. And like his character had like pink mohawk and like these big whatever. But then you start getting into the metaverse and all that stuff can be customized where people can sell their artwork. So you could buy a digital piece of art or digital clothes or digital like decals for your cars and stuff that you're playing in the game. I don't get it. I would prefer to do that stuff in the real world, but I guess similar to how I used to get different mounts and achievements in suits of armor and stuff in Worlds of Warcraft, if you're like, "I'm never going to have this in real life," in this metaverse, I could have a Ferrari that I drive around.
Mhm.
And other
Yeah,
people,
this actually might be financial advice because they say that one of the best investments you can make for yourself is in real estate. That
Mm,
that's like a really good, stable,
yep,
worthwhile investment. And so I've seen reports, I've read some articles that say there might be a viable real estate market within the world of like Grand Theft Auto.
yep. That new one, no, that new one coming up. So this is a pretty good segue into us actually talking money now. Give the
Well,
people,
welcome to the show.
yeah,
Welcome to
well,
the
we're 45 minutes in. I hope we're up top. Just a little chit chat up top.
welcome to the Idiot Investor Money Talks with Dave Wright. Me and Dave Wright. We're here to talk investment strategies, real estate, buying real estate in Grand Theft Auto.
Lesson one: don't let two retards waste your time for 45 minutes. That's a bad financial choice.
But yeah, also don't listen to me about money necessarily because I'm bad at it. But
Yeah.
Dave seems to know more about it than I do.
So I would say just a quick backstory. So you heard some of my childhood, and then you heard when I was in like 18, I bought an investment property, did very well, got in at a lucky time, got out even luckier. Then I wasted all that money. And you've been talking about gambling and going to the casino and stuff. I wasted all my money at the casino, drinking and stuff. And I think what it was I had a car accident too, where I did a lot of damage to my jaw and I died and everything. By the time I was 30 and I like kind of woke up to all this stuff, I felt so far behind from everybody else. And this is, if you're listening to this and you feel like that, you're not alone. This is a part of human experience. It feels like everybody else has everything figured out and you don't. And it feels sometimes like you're behind, but just because somebody's doing an activity doesn't mean they're ahead of you. They might have not done the mental work. They might have just, got into it. Doesn't mean that they're not. But I'm just saying sometimes people are trying to figure stuff out as they go along. But anyways, I lost all my money and then I was gambling because I was like, I need to make a lot of money quick and catch up because I'm behind. How can I do
Mhm.
that?
I've had that thought, and then I lose more money.
Because working's not going to do it. So I can skip some levels by gambling. And then what happens is you end up broker than you were to begin with. And you're like, well, if I just saved everything that I lost over the past 2 years and I invested it, I'd be way up. So one of the great things for me, so I was playing poker and I was pretty good at poker. And this is recently, and I was doing my Amazon business. And now that I'm doing crypto and I can see how I really started focusing on crypto back in March and seeing the amount of money that I can generate. There's no excitement in gambling for me, and there's no excitement in poker for me anymore because I've actually seen a path to generational wealth in a very short amount of time. And it goes what you were saying, blockchain and buying Bitcoin. There's only going to be so many blocks of Bitcoin or other tokens. And when you own one, you own a piece of digital real estate. And you can build worlds on top of that, like Grand Theft Auto. But even that, owning Bitcoin or owning Ethereum or owning one of these tokens that's going to be valuable is owning digital space. That's what you're technically owning on the internet. And we could kind of get into it. I think what I do at this time, I know this is long-winded, but I'm going to show you what I do. And I think people could try to jump in and then figure it out what they need to figure out when they need to figure it out rather than start at the beginning and work all the way forward and then go. Throw you into what I do.
Right.
Have you lose money if you're going to lose it? And it's like, well, you're already losing in the stock market and you're already losing it to inflation. So why not lose it trying to figure out crypto?
I've certainly lost it in the stock market.
Yeah.
I got a new strategy. Have you seen that movie, The Card Counter, with Oscar Isaac?
No, is this the MIT story?
No.
No.
It's a movie about a guy who was a professional torturer at Abu Ghraib who, during his stint at Leavenworth, learned how to count cards.
Okay.
And now he's on the outside. He's a professional gambler.
Yep. Gotcha.
Anyway, there's just a quick line in the movie
Saul,
where
yeah, you talked about this with Saul, where The guy just goes to casinos and he's not trying to, he's scamming them, but just for a little bit of money, just
Yeah, he's
enough.
not even really scamming them. He's just like counting cards and then winning a decent amount and then walking away. So they
But
never
never
get...
enough that they're on to him, and then he's on to the next casino and he drifts from casino to casino.
Right. Yeah. And so
We've all had that dream. Yeah.
yeah, I've had that dream.
That's one of those memes online where it's like the male urge to do X. Yeah, the
Yeah.
male urge to drift from casino to casino.
Yeah, dude, I've had that as a regular fantasy of mine.
It comes from, I think it comes from feeling behind and figuring out that's the only way that I could catch up. I think women experience this too, similar, but it's probably more fertility driven.
Sure.
And men do too financially, but it stems to the family as well, because they're like, I got to catch up, getting more resources so that I can afford a fucking family, because that's what I want.
Yeah.
And then you spend your whole life paying taxes and getting this money, and you miss out on family because you postpone your happiness to this future destination. And both genders are doing the same thing from different biological terms. But anyway, so one of the lines in the movie that
there's just a quick line where he ends up taking this like college age kid under his wing. Yep. And they're at a casino together, and the kid's like, I'm gonna go play some games, and he says to him, hey, remember, bet small, lose small. Yep. So that's my new strategy, is instead of dumping an obscene amount of money on a ticker hoping that it squeezes and I make $30,000 in a week and then losing 95% of my investment, bet a small amount and then see if I, try to collect a return at 40% and then do that.
So I got a strategy for you, Dalton. So actually, let me share my screen here. You guys want to get into some financial stuff with DeFi?
Yes, we'll do that. But how do I make a money on a house in Grand Theft Auto?
That I don't know. I did hear whispers of the fact that when that comes out, there's going to be people in games similar to Second Life. So Grand Theft Auto is going to be similar to Second Life. Are you familiar with Second Life?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't checked in on Second Life in a while, but last I checked, there's multiple planets and stuff going on now. They're doing intergalactic traveling.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can buy land on new planets. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
I do. It does see, because like with 5, there's like the main game, but then it seems like they've spent a lot of time and money and development on the making a robust GTA Online experience. That's where a lot of people who play that game spend their time.
Yeah.
And so, like with this new one coming out, like the big news is how huge this map is. Like, I guess they recreated all of Florida. I get it seems like.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna, with that, build out this online aspect of it, the same they did with 5, even more.
Yeah.
Then I suppose there'll be this whole new I guess like what Zuckerberg was trying to do with the metaverse, but in Grand Theft Auto 6.
So I'm in a couple of, I don't have a lot of money I have money in DeFi, artificial intelligence, in smart contracts, and like for health insurance and stuff in my crypto portfolio. But there is a lot of gaming tokens, and they're at some very rudimentary, like the graphics are really bad. They're kind of like in Nintendo version almost. If Nintendo was done in the phone era, because of a lot of them are like phone type games, but with Nintendo graphics. But when you log into them with an anonymous wallet. And so you don't have to do an email or phone number or whoever. And you know how like when NFTs have like this digital, like the cyberpunks had that photo.
Yeah.
You can design your characters in the game, do achievements and stuff. And as you're doing that, some of your rewards are in crypto of that game. And so as players start playing it and there's a bigger community, those characters that are up top become more and more like valuable as you do certain things. And when people want to end the game, you can sell your character to somebody that wants to buy that.
That sounds almost like what was supposed to happen with Logan Paul's crypto scam. Did you see his scam, that crypto zoo?
So Yeah, I don't pay attention to all that celebrity stuff. I do, it's in my peripheral, but like I check. I actually, so let me. I don't want to take you off top thing here, but let me show you.
Well, he was doing a crypto thing that ended up being a total scam. That was like it looked like it was like the KO Garden from Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know the KO Garden, but it was like you would buy. It was like a crypto thing where you would buy an egg, and then this egg would gestate and eventually hatch some crypto thing, and it would get more and more valuable over time. And then I guess you would be able to sell it at some point. And then come to find out the whole thing was a scam, and now he's getting sued. But I guess it sounds like he's not the only one that had that idea. Was this?
so I was trying to share the screen for this guy. Sorry. I just didn't want to put. I got it set up on two screens here because I have some personal stuff that I'm trying not to show on screen until I want to show it.
Oh, do you need me to take that down?
No. I didn't know why it wasn't showing up. So let me go to. Actually, we'll go to Deck Screener. So instead of this is a site here that pretty much anybody can go on this. It's better when you have a wallet because I'm like logged into this right here with my wallet anonymously. If you can see it in the bottom left-hand corner. So instead of an email or phone numbers or whatever, you log in with a wallet, which is a generated code with a seed phrase that only you know that's tracked decentralized on the internet. So it doesn't matter where you go, you can always log in and always get to that. And if you were to lose it, you need to make sure you have a seed phrase because you could flee the country, end up in China, but as long as you have the seed phrase, you could get back in.
Right.
So, but here, everything on the blockchain is attached to this site, so you can start looking stuff up. So, one of the things you can do, I don't even know where to start because there's so much stuff here. But if you just went to, let's see, where do I start you? Okay, so this is Base Chain. This is just a huge new chain that's out from Coinbase. And if you look at the last 24 hours, this is up 74.49%. I have no idea.
That's a good return.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is. This is ECAT by Every Cat. But you could get here and you could come right on and just look and see. All right, so this was, you can see that this was launched back on July 23rd, 2024. It went way up here. It came down, and then pretty much overnight, somebody pumped it again. But you can then go down here, and if you wanted to start figuring this stuff out, and you can look at the top traders, and this shows you that this guy went in here with bought $139 and sold at $17.39, and he made $15.97 in profit.
Nice.
So you can start tracking these wallets and copying what they do, and everything's on the blockchain. So they would be anonymous.
It looks like what this is like a stock market that is not yet controlled by any sort of hedge fund or financial institution.
So I wouldn't recommend starting here, but this thing right here, everything, if anything from the blockchain is on here. So I'm going to search on it real quick and just look something up here. And I'm going to look up something that's called wrapped ETH, which is ETH is on the Ethereum chain, but they can move it to the Base chain. You don't need to know all this stuff, but Base chain is owned by Coinbase, which is huge, and they started their own chain, and all sorts of money is flooding into that right now. So I'm just going to pull up a pair here, and I'm looking for Aerodrome. Of course, I can't find it. Well, let me pull up my own account and just show you what I'm doing with one of my wallets that I'm hooked into right now. To give you guys an idea of what you can be. Can you see this screen? All right. So this is called yield farming. So this right here is a pair that I found. It's wrapped ETH, so it's Ethereum pegged to USDT, and this is Ethereum pegged to USDC. These are called pools. Imagine you have apples or oranges, and you know in the past, and you're trying to trade them, but you don't need apples or oranges at the time, or somebody you know doesn't have them. This is like having Ethereum in. You have Ethereum and you want USDTC for it. So you put your Ethereum in this pool and you take out the USDT of equal value in that pool. But somebody has to provide that liquidity inside the pool for you to be able to make that trade. Does that make sense?
No.
All right. How do I explain it? All right. So you have a particular currency, right? Say you have you have dollar bills, and you go to Canada and you need Canadian loonies, right? You're going to buy some maple syrup. So when you go to that bank and you give them US dollars, they need to have loonies to give you. And then you give them the USD and they give you back the loonies. They now hold that USD so that when people are leaving Canada to go to the US and they need to change their loonies for dollars, they can do the same. So that safe is like a pool with all that money in it, and it's got particular value to it. On the internet here, if you have two different currencies, somebody owns and buys a currency called Ethereum, and they're like, well, I don't need Ethereum right now because it's going up and down. I would prefer a stable coin like USDT. I want to sell it for that. Rather than find an individual to sell it for or have to put it onto an exchange where somebody owns the money when it's on there. These are decentralized exchange where people have put some of their Ethereum and USDT into this pool. So you're like, okay, I have 5 Ethereum. I'm going to put it in this pool. I need the equivalent back out. So you take the equivalent back out of that pool that's equal. And now you've exchanged it for something with the same value that's in that that pool. Basically, I don't want to keep saying the same thing. Am I just talking in circles, or is that kind of understandable? It's a way that you need to exchange currencies in order to be able to utilize them. So,
and how do you make money doing this?
Okay, exactly. So I put, if you can see here, I put can you see this on the screen?
Yeah.
I put 4,764. Well, actually, I put a little bit more than that. I put about 5,000 in this, so it's down a couple hundred, right? So I put about 5,000 of this of each in there. 2,500 of Ethereum, 2,500 of USDT. This right here is the range that I put it in. So let me pop this open here. When you go over here and you look at this number, 2,300 to 2,545, I told them, hey, anytime Ethereum is at these two prices and somebody wants to make a trade, take all the money that I have and put it in between these two things. And so when somebody trades out of that pool, they're trading my coins that I own so that I get the fees that's involved for that. So anytime somebody needs to trade Ethereum for USDT and they put it in here, there's fees that get paid, and I'm getting paid 83%. And we can do this a day because sometimes that's easy.
So it's like stock lending.
You're letting people borrow liquidity so that they can trade currencies. They have two competing currencies, and you're just putting them together so that people can switch just those currencies. So I have a 10% range here. So as long as Ethereum's between 2,300 and 2,545, I'm going to make 45 cents an hour, $9 a day on that money. When I'm sleeping, if I'm in bed, I'm at the store, if I'm jacking off, if I'm taking a shit, if I'm at Skankfest, I'm going to be making $9 on that every day. Doesn't seem like much, but at the end of the this is volatile. So I actually pulled
I
out.
mean, you're making passively what a prisoner makes. So that's
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm going to say. So I earned actually $80 overnight. This will fluctuate depending on the volume. But if you were to say, so I was saying this online, if you were in a pair like this and you're going to do monthly, right? And you're getting, let's do the daily again here. Sorry. So I'm at 0.34. We'll do it in real time. If I had $1,000 here, right? If you could come up with $1,000 and you do that at 0.34%, you're going to make $3.40 a day off that 1,000. And everybody's like, Dave, I came here to get fucking rich. This is fucking bullshit. I make $15 an hour at McDonald's. And it's like, this is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You're going to make $340. But now you get the eighth wonder of the world, which is compound interest. So tomorrow you actually have $1,003.40 that you're making 0.34 off of. So now you multiply this by 0.34%. And then you're going to add your 1,003. You get the point.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. So at the end of the month, let's just do this at the end of the month. So at the end of the month, this position right here is going to make me $331. And then I can put that 330. This is done every second, but if I would put that 330 in here, then I would start making, I would have $5,000 that's making that, and so on and so forth. So your first month, if you were making $4 a day on $1,000, you would make $120. So then you would have $1,120, and every day you're making $4.40 on it. And then at the end of the month, you would make like 130, 140 if it stayed the same, and so on and so forth. But if Ethereum right here goes up in value and it goes up, all that money that's in there actually goes up more. So this would go up. In the meantime, this could go up to $10,000. And now I'm getting the same percentages off of the appreciation of that. And you could do the downside too. If it goes down, you're getting the downside of it. But I want to show you the power of this, Dalton. So let's just say somebody has a student loan payment of $500.
Let's say I do.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and say that.
All right. Say do you mind sharing what a student loan payment is? You want me to
Mine is $204.
Okay, 204. No problem, dude. So you got to make $204 a month, right?
Yeah.
So right here, if you this particular position right here is about $5,000, right?
Yeah.
If you could come up with $5,000, so instead of putting 5,000 into your whatever and paying all that interest, if you put 5,000 into this Ethereum and just collected the money every whatever, at the end of the month you'd have $371. You could take that money and pay your student loan off, and then forget about the stress of your student loan for life. Even if you were paying interest, as long as you're understanding the DeFi in the meantime, so you can move the positions, you can switch them around, you're never losing that money. So if you, for instance, were going to buy a car and you're going to put $5,000 down on a brand new car or whatever, you put that in a car, you make all your payments. When the car is done, you have the car, but if anything bad happens to it, it gets destroyed or whatever, it's getting depleted. Instead, you could put that money into a position like this, have this earn you fees that would pay your insurance, it would pay your wear and tear and your car payment, and then save that money up first. Then you pay for your car, you use this to pay the car off, and then you still have the money invested in this that's making and earning you money. The reason I'm going backwards and talking about this, because if you can understand this as a concept, you can make yourself rich. It's creating assets that pay for bad debts.
Yeah.
so that you're passively paying it off. And then the interest doesn't matter because obviously as soon as you can pay that off with this passive income, then all the passive income that you're making is yours and it doesn't go to the loan anymore. But if you're stressing over $204 a month, we could easily get you a couple of commission checks rolling in here. And then if you go over here to Spritz Financial, I use this account here. I can't sign in right now because I would have to take my whatever, but you can go to off ramp here, click on the off ramp. You would connect your wallet and you would put your bank account in there and you just say, I want to pull the $204 off, put it in my account. It would cost you $2 to transfer it. So it cost you 204, the 204 would cost you 206. And then it would be in your account and you just pay your balance off. And that gets done in less than an hour. As you go higher up and you're transferring more money, it's more expensive. And if you pay your bills directly, it's like 1.5%.
I don't think the chat. I'm kind of following this. The chat is not following this at all.
There's a bunch of dumb bitches in the chat. All the women showed up to see the beard.
It looks like there's a conversation happening in the chat from people who are upset that they don't make the money they want to be making. Which honestly, some of these numbers getting floated out are kind of nice. I mean, John Castle said he makes $30 an hour. That's a good salary.
Dude, we could get John Castle retired by the end of 2005.
Yeah, the chat does not understand. I don't necessarily understand this.
No, this is great, dude. So I'm a full accountability type person, and I put the onus on me that I got to become a better teacher so I can figure out how to.
I know Degen. I know how to do Degen shit. I know how to dump a bunch of money in the Robinhood app and then lose that.
So you could get. So what we could do. I would want to do this off air with you because I want to walk you through how you would get your seed phrase and everything offline. But we could get you a wallet. So there's nobody that has to handle any of this, right? So since it's all decentralized, 24 hours a day, 365, you and me could sit down. We don't need to call anybody. There's no third people. You would create a wallet. You could log into this. You could, as long as it went smoothly. So with Spritz, they do have to do a KYC, which is know your customer. So if that fails, then you might have to wait for support. But if not, you could deposit money into crypto onto a chain very easily and start putting it into one of these accounts. And then you could work backwards where you could be like, okay, it's in here. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. What do I need to learn? And you could ask ChatGPT, you could ask YouTube and start going down a rabbit hole until you start figuring it out. And I think
it looks like what this is like you do have to be your own bank in your own investment firm, basically. Yep. And if you can wrap your head around this, then this is like a new frontier of investing that's not already owned up by all the investment firms and the way we've usually done money, where your only options are either like a scam 401k that could the bottom could fall out of that at any minute, or these like low yield where it's like I don't know, like a Roth IRA or something where it gets you like 2% a year, and that's not really going to build you any wealth.
The conservative people that are in, and I don't say that politically, I say that matter of factly, the people that invest conservatively in my investment group are looking to make between 5 and 6% on their money a month. And if you're in what we call TradFi, traditional finance, you're looking to make that on a year.
Right.
Just to beat inflation.
Like, yeah, like if you have a decent job and you go to like a Fidelity office and you're like, I need to make sure I have money invested so that I'm passively earning income, they'll get you set up with something like a CD or whatever that's making like 4 or 5% a year. If that, it looks like this is like a whole new thing that is completely unregulated, and there's no I guess there are finance guys that do this.
It's community regulated. So if you look in the bottom left-hand corner here, you'll say audited by Y Audit. So this is a private company that audits sites, and they make money by charging people for audits. And if sites that they audit start not being good, then they go out of business because they said this site was legit and it's not legit after their audit.
Yeah, but
So
it's also
it's
unregulated.
regulated. It's naturally regulated, kind of like how you regulate a friends group or a chat or like a kickball game or where you put your blanket at the beach. You know what I mean? Like you don't need guns and a politician. You guys you go to the beach, you figure out where you're going to put your towel out down, and and if there's problems, you guys work it out together.
Right. But
Yeah.
but it looks like you have to, the onus is on you to know what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
you
Did you
can't
ever?
just go you can't just go to a guy, like hand a guy a bunch of money and be like, turn this into more money.
Yeah, one of my friends asked me to do that for him, and you can. That's where they created the EFTs and stuff. But I wouldn't recommend it. But there is. Did you ever see Ryan Long, Danny, and Ian do their crypto sketch?
No.
And basically, they're playing like cartel, and they're in warm up suits. And Ryan Long and Ian Finance are basically interrogating Danny Polachuk, who's sitting down in a chair. In one of the parts, he starts like almost crying. He's like, "But I don't want to be my own bank," and like, because they're basically two crypto thugs, and they'd be like, "You get to be your own bank." But I don't want to be your own bank. Like,
Yeah, and didn't
you
Danny
can buy a cup of coffee in Venezuela.
because didn't
It kind of is like that right now. It's very early, but you guys
didn't
can be on the white water of this if you understand it. We got a super chat here.
we do, yes. Oh, my man Croyd, $4.99. Can you post the websites DeFi products that Dave was talking about? Yes, Dave will.
So
Dave?
so the site for checking all this out is called Dex Screener. So this is where we'll put a couple of sites up here. We'll do Dex Screener and we'll do DeFi Llama.
Mm-hmm.
And between DeFi, so these are just giant spreadsheets of all crypto projects.
He says in the show notes, please. Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, sorry. And then this is, I didn't really want to get too technical, but VFAT is a layer 1 that sits on, actually, it might be a layer 2. It sits on top, it's just an app actually that sits on top of a layer 1. But Aerodrome is the biggest on-ramp decentralized exchange for Base Chain, and Base Chain is the new project that's similar to Ethereum that was put out by a company called Coinbase. And if you're familiar with crypto, that's one of the biggest centralized exchanges where they've created their own chain. And now there's people creating decentralized exchanges on top of that chain. All right, this is a good point. If you think about this like money, you're going to panic. All right. You're going to look at this stuff. You're going to be like, guy's bad in math. But if you think about this like the video games we were talking about earlier, and they're just points on the screen, and you're building a character and you're checking off achievements and you're getting gold and you're working out the numbers on your armor and you're trying to figure this stuff out. And you're just trying to move these numbers around down here and work and test out these different things to get this number here for your total deposits to grow and this number here for your daily earnings to grow. And all you're doing is moving numbers around and watching them. And you can take this, I could take this money out now. I could take this money and roll it into this to make more money on it. That's where the game and the learning goes for you as an individual and what you're trying to accomplish. And instead of being panicked about it, like money, treat it like a video game where, you're going to experiment by hitting the buttons and learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think of it as losing your money.
No, so like you can lose money in this. So it's not like it's not a rich get rich quick scheme. But if we can walk away from one thing today, it's like I know there's people in the chat right now that have student loans or have bills that they're having difficulty paying. So they're like, bro, I don't have $17,000 to put on some magic money machine on the internet. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. We got a couple of super chats here.
Yes, we do. $2.99 from Drip Tank Swag Genie. Do Aubrey Plaza get naked at Megalopolis? Not really. No, you do. You get a good shot of her feet, and then later on, Shia LaBeouf eats her ass, and you get to see some titty meat, but you don't get to see any like real nudity. Michael Hall, $20. I don't come here to learn.
Well,
I mean, I'm interested. I'm interested in investing because I want to actually make money and try to figure this out. And I just do Degen shit. Like I'm just on Robinhood. Like, all right, I got to win my money back.
Yeah. So let me pull something up here too.
Which, by the way, Croyd in the chat is one of the guys. So this is financial advice. It's not financial advice. But Croyd was so this is like a revelation I had, I suppose, when I was in the psych ward and they were just like pumping me full of lithium.
Yeah,
I had this like almost like a prophetic messianic moment where I saw lithium and was like, what is this? So I started doing all this research on lithium, and I found this company called Standard Lithium that
this beautiful mind moment. Yeah.
And
I take a vitamin called lithium, and I'm like, wait a minute, why do I take a vitamin called lithium that people take in mental wards?
So I told Croyd's one of the guys I got in on this, but so lithium's been around forever, and it's as far as like human biology, it's a it's a mood stabilizer. It's actually like a mineral you need, but in industry and the consumer side of things, it's used in everything now, all the computers, electric vehicles, all that. And so I got in on this company called Standard Lithium. Croy did too, and it's very bullish now because they're starting their project all in the.
They're controlling the weather so that they can destroy North Carolina so they can mine more lithium.
No, that's probably a different company.
No, but that's the big conspiracy theory.
There might be some truth. That actually checks out almost.
I tried to find it online because I remember going down a rabbit hole, and there was this big facility that looked like these spirals that made a star on the coastal area somewhere. And I remember being on Google Earth and checking all this stuff out, and they were doing little micro tornadoes. And what they said is that they can't create them, but when one happens, they can speed them up and increase them. So I don't think that they can make weather, but I wouldn't be surprised if they can control weather that's already happening.
Yes, it's like the X-Men Pyro. He can't make fire, but he can manipulate fire.
Yeah, so like if there's a small storm coming, they know to fly planes over and seed it with stuff, or like do something else that heats it up or whatever that increases its whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the company I'm talking about, their project is in the like Southwest Arkansas, Texas area.
Yeah.
And they're starting production on it next year. And so the stock price is moving kind of nice now. It's like one of the only ones that I'm up on. Because it's like an actual investment. It's not like day trading. It's like buy and hold for a while. Because lithium is lithium's in lithium's what they need to make all the components necessary for crypto to even exist. All the fucking computers and servers and shit.
So I would call myself like a real environmentalist realist. And like I grew up recycling. I still actually recycle. We don't have in New Hampshire, like you drop it off in an actual facility that gets money for it as a courtesy. So it's not going to a government agency. You're going to like a place that actually will take the cardboard and sell it for paper pulp and stuff. But most of the electric stuff the mining alone would have to increase by like thousands, and then all that mining equipment uses gasoline to get that lithium, that cobalt and stuff out of the planet. So their goals of getting rid of fossil fuels and stuff, it's like they're creating all these programs that cost so much fossil fuels to do. It's really so my thing is, I don't know what the right fuel is, but they should stop subsidizing all fuel sources and see what the market decides on. Because if oil becomes scarce, the price will just go up and they'll find another.
It would
Well,
have to be either solar or nuclear. It would have to be something that's
I
like
think nuclear and hydro are two of the what I've seen. And you can't use hydro everywhere, but some of these countries, the Scandinavian countries that have big coastlines and stuff, they will store cold water from the ocean from the winter in these like thermal things and cool their city, and then take the warm water and replace it and use it to heat their city. And like there is systems in place, but you can't do that in Oklahoma.
right.
So like one size doesn't fit all. But anyways, I do think that lithium is a good investment, but lithium going up over the next 20 to 30 years doesn't help you pay your student loans or
No,
build generational wealth. Even if it does, even if you've made the perfect investment. Um,
it might help me break even in the stock market.
I, I, I come on here because I do like messing around and I like the community, but I really want to try to help people get. You can't help people. You can support people that are trying to help themselves. So if there's anybody trying to help themselves make money here, which I do think that you're one of those people. I think I see crypto. I forget his full screen name. Crowd.
Croyd.
Croyd. Yeah. Uh, Wants to do some of this stuff. And it's not that anybody else is bad. It's just that, you're not interested in it, which is fine. But if I can support whoever it is, figure this stuff out, I'm here to try to support you guys so you can learn from all the money that I've lost over the years. But what I'm trying to explain is the concept of getting your money in a situation where you're getting residual passive drip from it, and then you can use that to build. So I know the numbers here might not be feasible. This is one of my portfolios. This is one there's multiple sites like this, so you're not having all your money in one place. But you can start generating this, and then I mean, I don't know, what your goals are, but you know, I make these goal sheets of how I want to set my life up and how much money I would need. And I live very small, and I only need like $200 a day. And I know people are like, oh, only $2 a day, mister. But it's like, I'm 50. I fucking worked my whole fucking life and I like a certain lifestyle. But I only need like $200 a day to survive. And I can generate that passively. So anything I make in my other businesses or whatever is all fun play money.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not driving Lamborghinis and stuff. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm not the guy. I got a beard. I got missing fucking teeth. I play out in the woods, and I want to continue doing that. And I want to teach people how they can start hanging out with their families by making passive income and studying philosophy and having healthy lifestyles and healthy friendships and stuff like that.
I went for a walk today.
How was that mentally?
It was tough, and my body is atrophied. I'm very out of shape, but I got to make sure I commit to sculpting myself into a
Dude,
better vision.
you'll feel so good. So I spend most of my morning now just taking care of myself. Like I wake up, the foods that I eat, my hydrating, I go to the gym, and I don't start working till after 12 o'clock. So the whole morning is health related for me.
Yeah, I spend my
Including
morning scrolling.
brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Drink, extra strength watermelon. Healthy.
Yeah, I spend my morning. I scroll. I fix a cup of instant coffee. I scroll some more. Go back to sleep. Set an alarm. 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes before I'm supposed to clock in, I'm rushing to clock in for work. And then I
Yeah,
start taking sales calls.
I'm pretty blessed. So I was noticing today because I had plans at 4 that I was a little bit higher stress than normal.
Yeah. Here we can get this off screen for right now.
Oh yes, sorry. And uh and I would like everybody to get the experience of the life. Like I am working 7 days a week on my businesses and stuff. I've cut it down to 5 days in this crypto stuff and learning and whatever and having fun. But I work when I want to, and there isn't that stress of having to clock in or be at time. And I know how it feels when you're working, because like your whole day is like feels like doom. Like no offense, but like you're not waking up. It doesn't seem like excited and happy to attack.
I
You know
oh
what I mean?
well here hold on to be pragmatic about it. It's like I you got to have some gratitude. It's like I'm grateful to have a job and a
Yeah.
job that like I don't have to commute. I don't have to like sit in an office with people I got to pretend to enjoy being around. I don't have anyone physically watching me.
Yeah.
There's certainly metrics they're being paid
You only
attention to.
you stream 8 hours a day, so you do
Yeah,
have people physically watching.
yeah, there's that. But I mean, at work, it's like
No, I know.
at
Yeah,
work, it's I'm just like by alone taking calls, and so and I get paid like pretty decent money if I do a good job. You
yeah,
know, there's a direct correlation to my production, to my labor that's you don't find it like in a lot of positions. Like if you're just working like a customer service job or some like hourly position that's just hourly, you can bust your ass and you'll just make whatever amount of money you've been making. But if I do a great job for the month, I get a pretty fat paycheck
yeah.
for doing that.
Well, I don't want to sell my life on you. You know what I mean? Like your life is your life. But since you are in a position right now where you could like really lock in and make those commissions, taking those you're trading time, you're still trading time for money, but at least with the sales position, you're trading skilled time for more money, where not everybody has that ability. So like some people, they just like you clock in for 8 hours and that's it. You're going to get your $15 an hour. When you log out, you don't make any more money. If you work harder at your job, you'll make more money, which is
Yeah.
a step up. That's the first step out of the W-2 mindset.
Yes. And I'm just what I'm talking about is like maintaining perspective and like gratitude
Yeah.
because like my life like burned to the fucking ground and I'm like repairing everything and I'm in a position now where as I'm doing that I'm developing I have this like skill set now,
Yep.
whether it's this like broadcasting or sales, like I have all these skills now that look good on a resume,
Yeah.
and I can make as much money as I'm limited. Obviously I'm like within the limits of the job I have, but I can like work and make more money than I would otherwise.
Yeah. And you have the podcast that you're working on in the meantime. And it's in like the amount of people that work all day and then they just say, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then they go watch Netflix or whatever. The fact that you finish work and then get in here and build an audience and build the, the Twitter channel and everything shows a lot of dedication
Well,
on your
yeah,
part.
because I mean
You know
that's
what
where
I
the
mean?
money is. There's not
Yeah.
a lot of these days. There's not a lot of money in actually working. The money is in
Yeah.
being stupid on the internet.
Did you ever read Poor Dad, Rich Dad?
I believe you're referring to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and no, but my dad did.
Yeah. All right.
My dad bought the book, and I don't think he learned anything from it.
So I'm kind of talking some of the stuff that he talks about the book, but one of the things is the four quadrants of money. And I'm going to butcher it here, but you could probably pull it up. We could probably pull it up on the screen if we wanted to. But basically, the one, it's like being a W-2 worker, then being like a 1099 worker where you're like skilled, then getting a business where
Mhm.
you're making money from a business 24 hours a day, but then taking enough money out of that business to put into investments so that you're becoming a full-time investor. And where the end goal is you learn your skill sets, including a business skill set, where then, and this is where I'm getting into right now, I'm trying to phase out my Amazon business to move that money into crypto full-time and then manage my finances and my lending for that stuff so that I become a full-time pretty much financial business. And then you're just living off the money that you have by investing it, lending it, making good decisions with it or whatever. And it can grow pretty quickly. But I guess the point of it is you're not that far off from it because you're already starting to fuck around with the stock market. So you're kind of figuring this out on your own. And if you tweaked a couple things, and once it clicks, it's like, holy fuck, I'm setting my goals too small. I need to set bigger goals because I'm not getting up in the morning because my goals are small. I need a Christmas morning to get up to. And crypto really does that for me because now that I'm getting into like some of this meme coin stuff and I'm following some of these guys that I'm watching them literally put stuff into $1,100 into a coin and pull 40K out the next day. I was like, okay, I have seen what you've done for others.
Dude, that was me with the stock market. I was seeing people do that, and I was like, the first stock I got in on, there's no way to know, but I could have done that. That stock ran so much that could have happened for me, and I've been chasing that ever since, and just losing my investment.
So I have those 6 DeFi positions that you saw there on that site, right? And one of those positions generates about $250 a month. And then I take that $250 and I divide it into some meme coins that could pump in the future. Some of them have, some of them haven't, but I've pulled out close to about $10,000 worth of profit in other cryptos now from that portfolio that I own without investing any more money into it. So if you wanted to continue gambling with even the stock market or with meme coins, what if you had a position of a couple $1,000s that was pumping you out a couple $100 a month that you could put into risky things? And even if you lost it, you didn't lose anything because it was passive income that you were generating.
That's what I need to
position.
Yeah, that's why I got to figure out all this the stuff you're talking about because
I'll work with you as long as it takes, so that the people can learn too.
Everything I'm in on is just like, as I've been trying to figure out money and investing and all that. Turns out I'm just doing like high risk fucking investments. Yeah. It's not really investing. It's certainly exhilarating. It gives you the same rush as going to the casino, which is not good. By the way, don't go to a casino thinking you're gonna make a lot of money.
This is financial advice.
Yeah, dude. Because when I went to the casino recently, my plan of action was like hit the craps table and grind it out on the craps table and make like $1,000 because like craps, there's so many different betting strategies that you can mitigate your risk.
Yeah.
I got to the casino,
like the whole front quadrant or whatever with a certain amount of money, and you get like 3-to-1 odds as long as like the green doesn't come up. I've seen some of like the TikTokers that do these strategies with a couple $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah. With table games, you can strategize, and I understand craps well enough that I could sit at that digital, the bubble craps one, and grind out. You're gonna spend hours there doing that, but you could grind it out. But then I got to the casino, was immediately, I'm a sucker for slot machines. I was like, well, this is bright and shiny. I was immediately enticed, and then the whatever the gambling rush took hold of me, where I'm like shaking and going to the ATM.
Yep.
And then after like an hour of that, I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. This is gonna be a problem.
No, you and me have similar addictions in that zone where like I'm not addicted to booze. I quit no problem. It's uppers in like gambling, and it's that rush. And then I kind of get excited. I kind of don't hate when I hit rock bottom. It kind of feels comfortable. Like after
That's
you
like
lose
a
all your money,
that's a big thing with gambling
I don't think
addiction.
people realize that. It's like you kind of like losing because you're used and comfortable to feel like that pit in your stomach. You're like, "Oh, this feels familiar." You
Yeah.
you you know what I'm talking about? 'Cause
Yeah.
you
Oh,
share.
yeah, of course. That's part of the game. That's part of the addiction. That's part of that's like
Yeah.
part of it is even losing is almost why you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's sad.
Someone
Uh,
in the chat said slot machines. Come on, Dalton. Okay, sorry for having a little whimsy. Sorry for seeing a slot machine that's the cast of, that's the show Friends and wanting to have a little fun.
so
On the,
I said this on a couple podcasts ago when we were hanging out, but Jesse Lee Peterson helped me with all this stuff. That crazy bastard. I don't know if you know that black reverend guy
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah, I know that guy.
and like he does a lot of outrageous stuff, but had he not done so much outrageous stuff and be so hyperbolic, I wouldn't have seen these videos. But one of them was he was like, "Stop fighting God and stop fighting the devil and just let things be." And what he means by it, when you go into the video, like, I talked about this why I block all the OnlyFans chicks online or whatever, and I don't watch porn. And people are like, "Oh, you think you're better than me?" I'm like, "No, I know that I am helpless and powerless to pussy and women. So I keep it away from myself, or I will get myself all horny and I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll start looking at it. I'll start avoiding projects. So I like block it. I get it out of my thing. I made a hard line that I don't gamble anymore. I play poker to scratch that itch, and I should probably cut back on that. But but I don't do slot machines or blackjack or any of that stuff. I've been playing poker for years now, but it's because I know that I can't stop myself on that slot machine. Like you were saying a couple days ago in one of the podcasts with Sal, or maybe it was months ago, and I was just catching up. Like you're down so far that there's no way even a jackpot can catch you
Oh
up.
yeah, yeah. Where you're
Like, all right, and all I got to do is hit this $20,000 jackpot, and I'll be halfway even, and then I can take that money and reinvest it and win another.
yeah.
Like,
When you're down so much, you're looking for a machine with like the biggest major jackpot,
yeah.
so that way you can like cover your losses and still come out on top. Where you're
And
like, okay, I'm gonna hit this one. I'm making $25 max bets.
And if you take like a true self-assessment and like have a talk with yourself alone in the corner, you'll come to the conclusion that you're like, dude, just cut your losses and go home. And you're like, that's the right thing to do. And you're like, yeah, of course. And then you're like, okay, where's that jackpot machine? You know what I mean? Like, even when you like come to the right conclusion in the moment when you are in that hyper fixation, uh, you still can't get yourself out until the money's gone.
Well, Dave, this brings us to this $10 from Michael Hall. Did somebody say Vegas Matt? Dave, have you seen Vegas Matt?
No, I've seen a crackhead kid that does online gambling that's a lolcow that loses all his money and punches the door and stuff.
Well,
Is that him?
no.
Okay.
We got it. Did Michael wants a little Vegas Matt? Dude, Vegas
Is he a
Matt's the best.
lolcow, pal?
No. He's
He's
actually
a winner?
awesome. Like he's not a locale. What he is he's like a pretty buttoned down, seemingly like well to do, like convivial guy in
Yeah.
Vegas. He's like, hey, it's Vegas Matt here, and it seems like he's got his shit together.
He's like, oh,
But
we're gonna turn $1,000 into $2,000, and then he does it.
no,
Okay.
he's mostly losing. He's doing the most degenerate gambling I've ever seen. Where he'll be in a high limit room at a slot machine making like $1,300 bets. Each spin is $1,300 and just lose like $30,000 in a minute. And he's like, "Well, hey, that's Vegas for you. This has been Vegas, Matt." Dude, I saw one where
He is kind of
he
a
was
lolcow then.
not really though, because his channel's huge and he's still making like a ton of money,
Okay.
and he's
He's
got like a
making
nice
money.
and he's got a family.
He found a way to profit off of losing money.
Dude, I saw one where I think he was with his son. Maybe I think his son's grown, but they were grocery shopping, and this is in Vegas. So as they're leaving the grocery store, he's like, "Hey, Vegas Matt here, just out buying groceries." And what do we find? A slot machine. So we're gonna hit the slots here at the grocery store. He just loses $1,000 on his way out of the grocery store.
But he's got to make it back up in the.
His channel is huge. Yeah, I mean, he's starting to get like special guests. Like he was with Howie Mandel recently, and he went on Howie Mandel's podcast. I was looking at Howie Mandel's channel and saw that he was on there. It's the most watched episode of that show. From what I could tell, it's got more views than anything that podcast has done.
Chat, have you guys heard of Bossman Jack?
I think somebody was telling me about that guy. He's even more degen.
So he's the lolcow that basically he lives with his parents. He smokes crack sometimes, supposedly. He does drugs, but he'll just be in his room. He'll show like staking.com where he's gambling and people will give him donations and he'll be like, dude, $5,000 and I'm out. $5,000, I'm out. He wins the $5,000, but he doesn't cash out. He goes back in. Then he starts losing it all in real time. And then he loses and he gets up and he literally like breaks his chair and stuff. And similar to the WoW kid that put the controller up his ass that may or may not be fake.
Right.
His parents then come in and like sometimes there's like a Bam Margera moment or whatever where he's like, you can hear his parents in the background and he's losing all this money online. But it's I just found it on YouTube. It's Bossman Jack is a 28-year-old streamer with crippling gambling addiction who is sponsored by Stake.
Jesus.
In his clips, you can see how this Degen loses $2,000 and starts destroying his parents' house. So this is just a clip of the guy, and it's got.
Well, hold on. Michael wants a little Vegas. We gotta do Vegas Matt.
Okay, yeah, let's see.
Michael
Vegas.
Gave us his hard-earned money. I'm looking for a good one.
I was vamping while the producers pulled it up.
Here we go. What is this? Let's see. I think this might be a good one. All right, here we go.
Are you sharing the screen?
I'm about to.
Okay, because I can't see it here.
All right, so this is Vegas Matt.
Oh yeah, I know Vegas Matt. I've seen this guy.
Spins on money balls. It's at 9. The question is, can we hit it before we run out of money?
Yes.
We need money. Oh, that was good.
How much was that?
$455. And we got it.
Oh!
So, winning going in, and now we need good money balls. We need pink ones. Pink ones.
These are 50 senses.
We need a big one. We need at least one big one in there. Come on. No big ones. Good thing we won that line pay first. So anyway, that didn't take very long, and we turned 1,000 into 1,830. $1,000 in the machine.
Yeah, so this is the ones that I've seen. So this guy is kind of living the lifestyle like we were saying in that movie or that book you were talking about earlier, where he just has been living in Vegas for so long or Atlantic City where he kind of knows the tricks, but he's also monetizing them.
You got it pulled up?
No, I'm saying that guy that you just showed.
Oh.
Like he's every time I see him, I assume that he's like living this lifestyle where he kind of knows a couple of tricks here and there in a couple of slot machines where he can make a couple quick bucks and he can walk away. You know what I mean? Like the average person can't win 1,800 and then go home, where he's probably like, okay, we're up 1,800 for the day. We filmed the video. Let's go put it up and get something to eat. But yeah, I have seen Vegas Matt.
Well, his YouTube channel
lose thousands. I never gone to his YouTube channel.
Yeah, his YouTube channel has 804,000 subscribers. And so he's definitely making money on YouTube.
Yeah. I see the New Hampshire kid. So I played poker before he moved with Corey Does Poker. And he does a vlog with this young kid that looks like he's in his 30s, but he's in his 20s that comes into my poker room sometime. I wish I knew their names, but he does something similar to that guy, Matt, where he goes around and just does degenerate stuff at slot machines or roulette or whatever. But he's a young kid. He's in his 20s, and I met him over Christmas because he was home. And he's in his 20s, but he looks like he's in his 30s.
Right.
Maybe Wolf something is his name.
Yeah, dude. Well, I tried to do a little Vegas, Matt, and it turns out that does not work.
No. I've never been. When I played tournaments and stuff, I would always lose the card flips. Like I'd be 60% to win, and I would lose. So I know it's all math, and you're like, well, that's what I want in the long run. I want to, you're going to lose making that call, but I do think there's luck involved, even when the math comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly luck. I mean, table games, you have some strategy, but it's also a lot of luck.
Yeah.
Crabs is the funnest for me of the table games. It's confounding a lot of the times, all the different bets you can make, but there's a way you can play craps where you can just slowly but surely, make money.
So I'm so far removed from it that is Jimmy. Sometimes he shows up here. I think he's working. I was gonna see no Jimmy in the chat, but my buddy Jimmy or whatever, that's also in the skank for us or whatever, but he lurks. He loves when we're at the casino, he'll stop and he'll watch people lose their money and he gets a kick out of it. It turns my stomach. And he's like, oh, they're an adult. Let's just watch them drop 25 grand on the blackjack table, like just spiraling, and no one's going to stop them. And they're not going to win. They're just going to keep losing until they go home. And it turns my stomach now because I remember when that was me, and it gives me negative flashbacks.
Dude, I've been at casinos.
So I just don't gamble anymore. It's just like,
yeah, I've been at like middle of nowhere Indian casinos, like places you couldn't even imagine that people would even want to go to.
I've seen a couple when I do my cross country trips. I always stop to see.
Yeah, where like I'll be walking out, either having won a few $100 or I'm only down like 100.
Yeah,
I try to be smart. But I'll be walking out, and there'll be like a woman sitting outside on the, whatever, the curb or whatever.
Yeah.
And she'll just be bawling her eyes out on the phone, be like, "Babe, I need you to come pick me up."
Yes. What are you getting into tonight?
Yeah. Yeah, she just like, from what I could hear, and I've seen this happen a few times. There'll be somebody outside and just in shambles, completely distraught. From what I can hear, they have completely upended their life that day.
Yeah, I remember. And it's funny because he ended up winning a big tournament and became a multimillionaire. But there's this guy, Raj, that I used to play with at Foxwoods. And could be a rumor or whatever, but literally going up and taking up equity loan out on his house at the casino. And they're just like, sure, yeah. If you want to borrow equity.
Dude, did you hear?
About 4 hours you're going to be here. And they have like a fast track where they can go in and friggin' work with the bank to give you a line of credit on your fucking house. And your wife's just at home cooking dinner and you're taking out.
She has no idea that house she's in now is now owned by the MGM Grand.
It's just so fucking sick, dude. Oh, it's brutal. It's
dude, did you, like a few months ago, this story came out. Did you see that story about Bruno Mars that came out?
No.
Dude, so he's got this. What?
Is he gay?
The jury's still out on that one. Probably. Yeah. No, this story came out. He's got this Vegas residency at the MGM.
Yeah.
Where they're it's like a $90 million Vegas residency.
Oh, nice.
That's what he's gonna get paid.
Oh no, this is gonna make me sick.
But he owes the MGM Grand like $50 million.
Yeah,
he has $50 million in gambling debts with the casino he's working at. So I mean, by the end of the year, I guess he still makes a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
But he's so in the hole with them. He's basically working to pay off that debt.
You know what though? I hear this, and similar to the Diane Wood thing where the son took the parents to court. Remember? Right. Did you hear about that?
I know Antwoord got in trouble for like they like human trafficking or something.
Yeah, their son, when they got older or whatever, that they adopted, said, I'm like, I thought that was all a big tax thing because they gave him millions of dollars and he got it all tax free because it was a settlement. So it was a transfer of wealth. if Bruno Mars is at the casino having fun, paying for dinner, lobsters, all this stuff, gambling and getting points, and then losing it and then getting whatever, is he washing 30 million that's tax free through the casino and getting
Maybe.
paid to live that lifestyle? He could
Maybe.
be a Norm Macdonald, degenerate gambler like him and Artie and all them. But like sometimes I wonder when these stories come out if the attorney's like, okay, and now we have to release this thing about how you lost all that money and we'll get all these we'll save all these taxes.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody, to one of my GCs that I'm in, one of my group chats I'm in, about something kind of similar. This is your guy. Because I was looking at the YouTube.
Martin
And
Shkreli?
Do what?
Martin Shkreli?
No.
Yeah.
No, well, no. Remember,
Shkreli followed me for 2 days and then he saw my feed and he was like, I'm out of here.
remember that story that came out a few weeks ago about Tim Pool? And this is building up to what I'm talking about.
I mean, I know who Tim Pool is, but
okay, so this story came out about Tim Pool that he is probably unknowingly a stooge for Russia, that through some back channels the money he's been making doesn't like line up with that the popularity of that show or the numbers it does.
Yeah.
So he's pulling in like $100,000 a week or whatever on this show, that when you look at the actual viewership is not $100,000 a week show.
I believe it.
Yeah. And so the speculation is that through some like back channels or something, there's money getting pumped in so that he can, I guess, spread misinformation for the benefit of the Russian government. I don't to what that entails. I don't know. I don't know if they're giving him things to say or if they just want him to have as big a platform as possible because naturally he's such an idiot that it benefits them. I don't know.
So yeah, I don't know that story in full, but I do believe this stuff happened. So like the one that I always talk about because it's more easy, it's easier for people to comprehend is OnlyFans.
Right.
And I do think that some people are paying for OnlyFans, but the amount of money that goes into OnlyFans, it would have to be global for that much money to go into these women. So I do feel like there is money being sent to them to destroy. Like the Chinese TikTok is different from the American TikTok.
Yeah.
About what they show. So is it really that far-fetched for the Chinese to make some fake accounts and pay women to do degenerate behavior in order to like win the race between America and you know what I mean? Like to destroy the moral fabric? Or when people talk about like the Hillary Clinton kill list where there's like 170, 200 people that have been dead and like, well, they're murderers and like they don't necessarily have to be. It could just be that a big, powerful person is like needs them to win, and there's somebody in their way. So, like Bill and Hillary have nothing to do with it. They're just like sweeping I always say this, but like the Patriots game where they're playing the Raiders, and the guy comes out and plows the snow so they could kick the winning field goal. It's like maybe they're just murdering people so they have an easy thing. Maybe Russia needs Tim Pool to keep saying the same bullshit he's saying, so they pad some of the accounts, and he doesn't know about it. He's just like, oh, sales are up when we do X, Y, and Z, so let's continue doing X, Y, and Z. And so I could see it pretty easily them manipulating the stuff. I mean, the funny thing for me about the Tim Pool thing is if you look at the only foreign operative, I think it's the ACL or whatever it is, the ADL. It's basically a Jewish company that they try to say, well, you're a foreign thing, so you can't give to campaigns, but it's the only one that's allowed to do it. So there's this big Israeli
that's the
company.
AIPAC.
Yeah, and they donate to all sorts of candidates that do things that are in Israel's best interest, and it's foreign money that comes into this thing. So there is ways that all sorts of people, I mean, when you're a big superpower that's got a huge military that's crushing people at your whim, of course, people are going to try to manipulate the monster and however they can to get what they need. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like this is what I said when they were saying Dave Smith
So hold on, Dave.
money.
So thank you for naturally. You just segued right into what I was about to say.
Okay.
Because that's why I mentioned the Tim Pool thing. Because I was talking to some friends the other day about exactly that, where we keep hearing that show makes the most money on that network.
I know secondhand for information that yes, that is correct.
Okay. And so I don't know the numbers on the actual network. That's all behind a paywall.
It's not even on the network anymore.
Right. But I looked at the YouTube channel out of curiosity, knowing what we know about this Tim Pool thing. That show very rarely is even cracking 100,000 views. More often than not, it's sitting somewhere between like 50 and 70,000 views on an episode.
Yeah.
And so I am curious as to so where's this money coming from? Like, what is going
on? So I don't know any of this stuff firsthand. I will just say this right off the bat. Not financial advice. I've never talked to Lewis about it. Lewis and me are not friends. We fuck around on Twitter a little bit. I met him in person a bunch of times or whatever. He knew who I am. He doesn't like me very much. He doesn't not like me, but he's not like, he won't gravitate towards me. We're in the same room. So I don't know any of this firsthand. I know second or third hand from some people that are in New York City that are in a similar business. That Gas Digital makes really good money up above whatever they thought they could be with a lot of freedom that they meet, but they're not multimillionaires. So even though Dave Smith is making a shit ton of money, it's relative to their shit ton of money. And it's not even close to like Joe Rogan money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but also you got to remember Dave's getting,
what is this? $2.
Yeah.
Did Dave talk about dunking on Column on Twitter? $2 from Heihachi Mishima, King of the Iron Fist. I don't know to what that's in reference.
I don't think Column was mad. I think he's in on the bit too. Basically, Column said, "Can somebody start a Reddit about bad stand-up clips?" And I just screenshot Column Terrell podcast and said, "Okay, John, what next?" and so he saw it and he said, "Delete this right now!" Quick, exclamation mark. But obviously, he's in on the bit and he thinks it's funny.
Oh, another $2 from John Castle. Your fans are pretty cool, Dalton. Thank you, John. I try to foster a good community of folks.
I love this community. I got an enemy of the show, by the way.
You have an enemy of the show?
I'm not a true enemy of the show, but I want to say I'm very naive and I'm a very genuine person, which is another reason I like talking to you. You've always been very genuine. So in the community is very genuine. I had talked to Brendan Sagalow about coming on Crowder Boys.
Oh, boy.
And he agreed that he would. He said he wanted to do it. It sounded fun and he'd get to be fan facing and all this stuff. And so I was like, oh, awesome. And then I talked to him about a week later and I said, hey, who should reach out to you? Dalton's manager, Robbie, like me. Who do you feel most comfortable with? I think it'd be good to come on because he's, and he says, well, let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. And me being naive, I was like, oh, he's going to check his schedule and get back to me. He wants to come on. Like, I was like, good old Brendan. And I've met him a couple of times.
No, you're never hearing from him again.
Yeah, he's literally. I messaged back and I said, hey, bro, I didn't realize like no one's gonna be mad if you don't want to go on. Just say no to me. I was earnestly thought you were saying like,
by the way, don't do this on our behalf.
No, I already said they don't know anything about it. I thought because him and me have talked like a couple times a week for a couple of years now. You know what I mean? I never saw the side of him. And so then I was like, yeah, enemy of the show. No, I think he's a good kid. I just think
there were people trying to sow discontent.
I think he's trying to build his thing and he's trying to do what he needs to do to
when he dropped his newest special, Thin Lips, on YouTube, everybody, he opens it up with that his raps that he does.
That's why I told him he should come on the show because of that song.
Yeah, because it opens right away with him saying, "Please don't be mean to me." Which
He's got a whole rap song called "Please Don't Be Mean to Me." You could watch it on YouTube Music. So I thought it'd be a perfect segue. He'd have a ton of fun. He gets some super chats. He gets to actually talk to the fans. He's a great guy. I met him and Scott Chaplin in person a couple times.
He's a very nice guy, yeah.
Cool. But I just didn't realize that he was a nice guy. Meaning, like, he didn't want to say no to me. He would.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to
And that's not who I am. That's why people don't like me at first.
When it comes to entertainers,
in the middle and then at the end, they don't like me still. But
yeah, when it comes to entertainers, you got to know the kind of sliding scale you're working with in terms of interactions with them, because they're like, they can be nice, but they're also like, I guess, busy, but more than anything, narcissists. So it's like,
yeah.
You know, it's you have to take it all with a grain of salt. You just have to understand, like, this person is an entertainer, so he's like a psycho.
No, I get that. I just am the type of person that my friends will be like, "Hey, Saturday, do you want to come do whatever?" And I'll just be like, "No," and they're like, "Okay, cool. Let me know if you change your mind." And we're like, "All right, yeah." And like, that's just, we talk very direct to each other, and we get things done. So when he was like, "Oh, let me check my schedule," I was just naive, and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna check his schedule and get back to me." Then I was like, "Oh, he must have forgot." And then I was like, "Oh no," because I talked to a girl about this, because I was like, "Oh, I need to know what girl brains do." And she's like, "Oh, he was politely telling you that he's not interested without hurting your feelings." And I was like, "Oh, he's breaking up with me, I'm his girlfriend." And like, yeah, I just don't understand like that niceness. You know what I mean?
Right. It's sort of a pseudo. It's like a pseudo nicety, because really is like he's trying in the best way, trying to like shoo you away.
Yeah, but but it's like, I'm a man, dude. I'm not gonna be pissed if you're just like, "No, I'm not interested." I get it. Like, it's, you know, it's not your thing, or you don't want to, or you're too busy. It doesn't matter. You don't like me. Like, I thought, just be. I don't know. Again, everybody's different, but for me, I was just. It was like it was like my autism break, where I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Adults lie to one another to save their feelings."
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that they do that because I don't hang out with anybody.
But what was it? Oh, so Dave is this guy who's now, you know, a bit now gaining more and more traction and more of a presence as like a political pundit.
Oh, Dave Smith, yeah.
Smith, yeah. And his, like, one of his big messages is that, like, when you think about it, both sides are kind of the same.
So go ahead, sorry.
And he sows this this seed in a lot in his the people that listen to him, that it's not, it doesn't do anything to vote. Like, voting is not necessarily going to change anything or progress us in the way we should be going. It's a fool's errand. Voting is just designed to present the artifice of choice.
Yes.
For those dumb enough to believe in it.
That picture of that trash bin, and it says recycle on one side and trash on the other, and then you put your hand in the one hole and you can stick it right out the other.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so if that's his message, then encouraging like a number of the whatever percentage of the population to not vote means that the voting is skewed toward a certain candidate. Then, like, people who were going to vote for someone that now are not going to, or not, or, you know what I mean? Like, the thing that thing they say where it's like not voting or voting for a third party is basically a vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Well, if and you know, this is not even necessarily anything I believe. I'm just putting myself in the mind.
I already know what you're saying. So what you're saying is, since Dave promotes that, and it could be any issue, any number of issues, the Tim Pool, whatever. If that one issue they believe would change an election, then it's advantageous for them. Similar to the primaries, where Democrats took their money and they actually put it into the worst Republican candidates to win, because they didn't think they could put enough money into their positive candidates. So they funded the worst Republicans instead, hoping that they would win, and then they get to run their candidate against the worst Republican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
controlled opposition.
So yeah, so but the Republican that won didn't know that a lot of their money came from Democratic CPACs. Like they
Right.
thought they were getting funding and they won, but they wanted to so that the competition for that district was easier for their candidate.
Right.
Yeah. So
if Trump winning,
okay.
if not voting or voting libertarian ultimately benefits Trump, and then Trump winning benefits Russia somehow, then it stands to reason that Russia, you wouldn't even need to funnel a message to Dave. You would just need to bolster his career so that he can keep doing what he's doing.
Yes.
So
I made this argument like a month ago and got on Twitter about when they said there's no Jewish interference with Dave. And it's like, that's such a crazy statement to make, because you could say, Dave, I know Dave is a friend and he would not take any Jewish money because he's a moral guy. But the fact that you're saying that there's no interference, it's like, you never know the job you don't get when you're like canceled or shadow banned or the reach you're missing. Similar to like, you don't know why you got a job. Like somebody calls you and you're like, hey, we're going to pay you 30 grand for this speaking arrangement at this event. Do you want it? They're like, yeah. Well, you don't know that 3 Steins didn't talk to one another to get you that event. I'm not saying, you know what I mean? So I'm saying, no, it's the same thing with Russia. Like, you don't know that a couple of lads didn't, work up some money up the chain to call somebody to get a speaking event or whatever. So saying that just because the person wouldn't take money directly doesn't mean that they're not accidentally being manipulated by the market.
Right. His show is making really good money in spite of the fact that it doesn't seem like too many people are tuning into it.
So I have an interesting perspective on this because I've actually been following. The reason I found Skankfest and Lewis and everything is through Dave Smith. So I used to watch in 2006, I believe. I started watching Stefan Molyneux before he got replatformed over to Rumble or whatever. I don't know if you remember him from last election, but he had 990,999 YouTube subscribers for like 2 years, never hit the million. And then they finally, during the Trump election, they got rid of him for wrong speak.
Right.
But he was a philosopher and he had Dave on a show, and I loved comedy for so long, and they kept bringing Dave up, and I kept tuning into Dave and Legion of Skanks, and was like, I love his political talks. They're not funny. He's not funny. In Skanks, I hate Lewis. Big J is kind of funny. And then fast forward, it's like my whole fucking life is like friggin' watched up and coming New York comics from like, when Tim Dillon's Going to Hell and Shane was fighting to get on rap, and now he's a multimillionaire. But I saw Dave and them when they were in that fucking crappy apartment before Alex and Harrington and them were all in the intern Olympics, and it's just Bobby Hutch and them in that room or whatever. And I guess where I'm going with this is like, I have a lot of similar beliefs with Dave. And I've had this thought before, because when I was trying to build my podcast and stuff and have like crypto donations, whatever, I always thought about how if you start following the likes, just like a woman's on Instagram and they start putting bikini pictures up and they get likes and they go down that road of following the likes, you become Florida woman and you're on that cusp. Like,
no, she did a total 180, dude.
She did a 180. I'm back in love with her again. Florida woman, if you ever hear this and your house gets blown away in the hurricane, you can come live with me in Florida. I will cure your autism. We can have half Mediterranean babiys together as long as you delete all your titty pictures offline and you don't have an OF. No, she did do a 180, but like when they start following the likes, I was always worried about that, because like Stefan Molyneux started making like Trump videos. And they weren't like pro-Trump. He was literally just going through the misinformation for Trump that was coming out and showing like the full clips and everything, and then like breaking it down. but they were getting a lot of traction. So he kept making those videos, and he got way far away from philosophy and just started kind of doing politics and political commentary. And because he built that house on sand, they got rid of him. So I could see Dave Smith. I watched Dave Smith kind of do libertarian philosophy for a long time, and then you run out of content. So you start doing a political podcast, and then that leans you one way. And then because he's doing this particular stuff, he's getting invited to particular events to speak, and he's getting to talk to Tucker Carlson. He's getting to talk to Rogan 7 times a year or whatever it is. And so it's like he's got a huge incentive not to change what he's doing if he's being financially incentivized.
Sure.
So to say that outsiders, like, somebody, if 30 people in Russia could sign up to the davesmith.com thing, and like all the money is actually coming from Vladimir Putin, but it's under like 7 different Russian names or like fake Chinese names or whatever it is, and then that's not happening when he's got some influence. And then the amount of influence that the election has, I think, is ridiculous. Like on all levels. Even Sagalo did it to me on a small level, to bring it full circle. It's just politics. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say it's human nature because I try not to do it, but when you're trying to figure out what sticks to the wall, if something hits, you keep doing that.
Oh yeah, I can't besmirch anybody for getting the bag.
Yeah.
But the bag might be coming from some seedy back channels probably. I do like Rogan. I think Rogan might be a stooge. Tucker Carlson is either a stooge or just a knowing, willing asset. He screams fed. And
so who I think's a fed? Is there any super degens in the chat right now? Maybe you've seen him, or maybe my timeline, because my timeline is not porn. It's mostly like New Hampshire and libertarian stuff. But I started getting these clips, and it's a guy that like omegles or something, and he's like a white supremacist from Florida, and he like he constantly does white power, and the eyes light up, and then when he pretends to be black, he puts the monkey morph face on or whatever, and like he just basically like he has like a site with like flyers or whatever. It's really hard to get away from because he is very charismatic and very funny, but he's super white power, Hitlery, like Ed Norton, whatever. But anyways, as soon as I saw that, I was like, this guy's got to be a fed, because they wouldn't allow him to keep this up on X in a website or YouTube. Like they would just, it would get deleted. Like this has got to be a honeypot to catch actual white power people, right?
Probably. I don't know. I'm skeptical of everything now. I'm like incredulous about everything. Like there's so many.
Okay, sorry.
Like there's so many accounts on Twitter now that I'm like, is this just like a guy, like the meme of the guy in the FBI jacket?
I'll send you a link, please.
Yeah, like those accounts like End Wokeness and the one that's the rhino profile picture. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. There's like all these accounts now that are just hitting these far right like fascist talking points, like white supremacy kind of shit.
Yeah.
That I like when I see that, I'm like, what is going on? What is this? Why is this so popular on this site? Like, why do these guys get such good numbers? Why is this boosted by the algorithm? What is like obviously like Aryan fucking propaganda?
Yeah. So I'm first and foremost, I'm an anarchist libertarian. So I see everybody as an individual. And at first, a lot of people feel really uncomfortable with me. Like Naeem, I don't know if you know Naeem, the Philly comic.
Yeah.
So we met at Skankfest and hung out, and then he like was going through my Twitter after he started following me. I was like, bro, what the fuck, bro? And then I talked to him. It's like, but this ain't you. Like you and me are individuals, and I know you and your character as a person. But like what I'm talking about online is like statistics and groupthink and stuff like that. And you can still recognize the two things and not hold it against an individual. But But so I don't know. So a lot of stuff I post is kind of funny and it's kind of backhanded and it's contradictory on purpose to see who recognizes it or not. But so this is probably why I ended up, but I just found it in my feed here. It's the guys, it's on X, it's at TEMOSDNA. So Temos DNA. And it's his tagline is HT the Giga Exposed. But I don't think this is his site. This is a guy that posts clips of his. And like he's recently in Miami and he gets like accosted by a couple of cops and they're trying to stop him from spreading flyers. So they're trying to get him a ticket for littering. And he's just in a black cop's face blasting N bombs for like 5 minutes. And it's like, this has got to be a fed because like I've seen so many instances like this where the guy's just arrested and they let him go at the end. And so I think they're trying. So it's like, I know that you're like shaking your head, like, why is it going? Because I'm thinking to myself, if this guy is real, then they could keep him alive.
I think you just nailed it. Israel.
And yeah, Israel. Yeah. No, but I'm saying they could keep this guy going, feed him money, know that he's there, and then see who's interacting with him. So it would be in their interest to fund him and keep him going. And he thinks he's heading in the right direction, but it's really the people. He might not know that he's fed supported.
Yeah, he's a stooge.
Yeah.
I wish I was a stooge. I wish somebody would give me money.
I thought about that because the way to donate to my site or whatever on purpose is cryptocurrency. And the idea was, if I can't teach you how to make money in crypto and learn the chain, or you're not already there making money, then I don't want donations from you. Keep your money. I'll be fine. But then I thought about it, like, just, when you're being super narcissistic and you're laying there meditating, like in a good headspace, or whatever, and you're feeling good about yourself, and you're like, Andrew Tate could dump $1 million in crypto into my account tomorrow, and I would never know who it's from. But then you go to your videos or the comedy or whatever you're doing, and you're like, this is what I dropped recently. Like, I guess I should start doing more of this because I just made $1 million from an anonymous like group or whatever. And now you become the stooge if you're not careful.
Right.
So that's why another reason that I would like to do the crypto to decentralize myself is so that I'm more protected to say what I want to say and do what I want to do and just have fun without worrying about it. Talking about Village, I got a good bit, but I won't do it here on air. We're 2 hours in, but I get a good ventriloquist bit because I have the beard and the mustache. And I tell people that I'm a ventriloquist, and I was like, I just need somebody to move their lips while I do the words or whatever. And I won't do it to you here. But I was like, who wants to do it? As soon as they start doing it, I say the N-word, the F-word. But I have my mouth closed like this so I can say it, and you can't see my lips moving. So it looks like they're saying it. Come on. That's a good bit to do to your friends.
Yeah.
I have dreams of being able to do that, like, I'm ruining somebody's career, getting that bleep somewhere.
Yeah. Anyways. This is a good point. Michael Hall says he does give me money, so I do Dalton. He at this point is like on the board of directors of the network because he's very, very benevolent. So
here's what we can do, guys. You guys can all learn crypto.
Mm-hmm.
You can make $50 a month. You can take that $50 that's being passively made on crypto and sign up for Dalton's top tier level on his Patreon. And then you guys can be on the show as board of directors, and they'll have to do tons of shows because they promised for $50 a month.
Dude, we did that. We did that on Crowder Boys. We got that $50 tier.
Yeah.
Where you get to be on the show if you subscribe to that.
That's what I'm saying. I can teach you how to make 50 passively with a couple $100 on DeFi. put that money right into Dalton's pocket, and then you get to be in the Crowder Boys every week.
Yeah. Well, the guy who the one guy who's done it so far, he did it, and we hit him up, and we're like, "All right, man, whenever you want to come on," and he like set a date. We were like nervous going into it because like there are some psychos. There's the one guy in particular I'm thinking of who is equally gives us money and is also scaring the shit out of us. But then this guy who gave us the $50 tier on the Patreon came on. Incredible show. He was awesome.
Yeah.
So, you could create a memory like that by subscribing to the $50 tier on the Crowder Boys Patreon.
Honestly, guys, this is a lot of fun hanging out with these guys. I think for at least 1 month, it's worth it. Get yourself, you can get your phone, you get a little thing. Just do 1 month and then cancel the 50 after 1 month and get on the Crowder Boys one time.
That's what he did. He got the 50 and then downgraded to the 10.
Good experience. Yeah.
And then you get to create a classic episode of the show. Yeah. And Michael Hall makes a good point. The Patreon for this channel, he said he got the sticker. If you subscribe to just the $25 tier for this channel, patreon.com/cornfield.brew you get a sticker after 3 months.
Yeah.
And you get to be on the show.
So in 2030, when you're sitting in your government pod with your e-wife on OnlyFans, you can put that sticker right on your laptop, and then you can be like, "Hey, honey, look what I did. I used to be on a podcast called The Crowder Boys," and you can show her that episode. You can pay her $50 to watch that episode. You on The Crowder Boys.
Yeah,
pretty good investment.
It's a great. This is financial advice. Yes.
Money talks. No, but honestly, so let's see. You would only need to put. So if $1,000 makes $120 a month, for $500, if you put $500 into a DeFi account, you can make like $50 a month. Give that to Dalton and become the 4th member or the 5th member of the Crowder Boys, basically, because it's small.
Yeah.
So who's in? Who do you got?
And then I can, and then
in the chat if you want to.
And then I have more liquidity to invest in Chinese stocks on the Robinhood app, which, by the way, today is the last day of some like week-long Chinese holiday.
Oh yeah.
The Chinese, we'll end on this because I gotta get ready for Robbie's thing here in a little bit. The Chinese government, like a week or two ago, started pumping billions of dollars into their like central banks.
Oh, okay.
Which then meant that the Chinese stock market became very bullish because they were all of a sudden trying to bolster their economy. Chinese penny stocks are running like crazy. Were during that once they started doing that, and then some Chinese holidays started last week, so then it all kind of went back to sleep. But
I heard North Korea just did something too with crypto that was similar.
Yeah, and so the Chinese stock market has been closed for like the last week, but then today's the last day, so tomorrow the Chinese stock market opens back up, and there's a lot of bullishness on these Chinese stocks because I got some that I've been in on for a minute that I lost a lot on. I lost a lot of my investment on. That when this started happening, they all started running back up, and I was like, "Oh shit, I might make my money back on these." And then I even did make some money on one. There was one I was in on that was KXIN that I only had like 1,000 shares that I bought at 11 cents. Yep. I sold at 22 cents. So I made 100% return. It was pretty good, $100. So it looks like for right now, this is not financial advice. Chinese shit stocks are about to start running.
Hello. All right. So you gonna read that super chat by John Castle, or is that
$2 from John Castle? Tell Robbie to unblock me. Just mention it casual. Robbie. Hey, look, Robbie has his boundaries. I have mine. Robbie blocks people because he doesn't want to deal with it. I will fight people if I have to. I do engage. For the detriment of my own mental well-being.
Yeah.
So
go. Sorry, I went to go see Lewis. By the way, over the winter or something, I forget, or maybe it was over the summertime in Providence. I'm going to see him in Boston coming up, and right before I left for the show, I got a DM from Mark Random.
Oh boy.
And he's like, "Hey, can you just give Lewis a message for me?" And I was like, "No."
Nope.
I love Mark too. Like, he doesn't talk to me much anymore, so I think he's doing music now. But it was just so funny when he was like, "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you ask Lewis?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Just bring it up in casual." Yeah, bring Mark Random up again.
Yeah, I've gotten a few DMs from Mark Random that are like manuscripts. Like, I'm just scrolling, like, God damn, dude.
So you're probably like me though, because you've been in a weird mental state, that you don't find Mark as confusing as most people do, because you can
Sure, I certainly.
you can kind of put the pieces together how somebody could get there.
Yes, I
Yeah.
get that. He's also somebody I would not want to associate with, not just based on like his public activity, his behavior. I've heard stories about him. I've heard of like
I only know him from like joking around with him online or whatever. I don't know about what he did in New York and what was true.
I've heard
made people uncomfortable.
Yeah, I've heard like the things that we haven't seen. I've heard like the stuff he's done to other people.
Yeah.
That scared them. Where I'm like, I would not want to associate with somebody who gets into this kind of behavior.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I know we're shutting it down, but it's like, if you come to one of these videos, right, and you see me talk, and you and me hang out and talk, and we have, and then you go to my Twitter page, you're like, is this the same guy?
Right.
So it's like, I joked around and like put Dr. David Wright Esquire, thinking that people would like get the joke, like, because you can just say that you're anything online and people like whatever. And there's literally people who are like, "Oh, I think you're a philosopher, doctor. You don't even know this or whatever." And I'm just literally commenting with the picture of his profile thing, and he's just over and over again, like putting little manuscripts in between it all. And I just don't take things that seriously. Like, I don't think social media is like an office. I think it's a playground. So I don't mind there being a little crazy kid on the playground sometimes.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, he's fun to gawk at, but I don't want to I wouldn't have him on my show.
I've seen him on Tower Gang, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. So Mark's probably an interesting example, but I'm saying,
I will say this.
I think there's people online that could see me like a Mark Random until they actually interact with me, and then they're like, "Oh, he's just fucking around."
I will say this. Mark Random is not as bad at stand-up as you would think. I've seen him do stand-up, and he is proficient. Like, he's a serviceable open mic comedian.
Yeah.
Because when I saw him at an open mic one night, I was like, all right, everybody, keep your eyes on the exits, know where to go. You know, make sure you have a plan for when this goes awry.
Yep.
He went on stage and he was like weirdly put together and actually had like structure to his time on stage. Like, he had jokes.
I've always thought of him as like evil Tom Myers.
Tom Myers is evil Tom Myers.
Like Tom Myers is like super normie.
No,
guy.
Tom is the man. I love Tom.
It does very regimented, normal comedy. And somehow Nick Mullen pulled him into the non-normal space. So it's like, I like Tom, and he's very good, like serviceable comedian. You can't pull like Nate Bargatze into like.
That's a good comparison. Tom is basically Nate Bargatze. Yeah.
Well, if he was a Pokemon, he's like a Nate Bargatze level Pokemon, where he's not like trying to offend, he's trying to be funny.
Are you saying Bargatze? Are you making him Polish?
Whatever his last name is. I don't follow clean comedy.
Bargatze is actually really good.
I think he's one of the best comedians because he's so clean. And I just watched a couple of his SNLs, and right up there with Shane's, dude. like the pool, the slide one.
That was very funny.
The
Yeah.
slide was funny. The George Washington part 1, I didn't watch part 2, was pretty funny, where they're like, it's gonna be like pounds, and 2,000 pounds will be a ton. What are 1,000 tons? We won't have a name for that. And then they have the guy from Good Burger there or whatever. Keenan's like, and the slavery will be free men. And he just puts his hands and he's like, in a gallon and milk.
Yeah, that's a very good sketch. Yeah,
that's really good. They've been getting much better. They do another good sketch with the Amazon Go that people should go check out. That's similar to that, where they touch on the race stuff. But yeah, but anyways, I just think that Mark Random is. I've been in the punk scene, so I don't think he's that strange. I've seen people that did a lot of psychedelics and like end up like Mark.
I'm one of them.
Yeah,
that was Lewis called me when I was melting down, and he started screaming at me like, "You're turning into Mark Random. You don't want to be Mark Random." And I was like, "No, I don't. Please stop screaming. Please don't be mean to me."
So Mullen, I used to talk to Mullen on Instagram, and Mullen was worried about you, but they knew. And even Lewis on Rap.
Mullen was worried about me?
Not like worried about you, but he knew in the peripheral that like you were stressed or whatever. And Lewis said,
because I can't even imagine he knows who I am. I talked to him. I've met him like a couple times, but they weren't like.
But I mean, like, so Lewis mentioned on the show, like, well, we're not talking about Dalton. We're not making fun of him right now because he's actually going through real stuff right now. So it's not something to make fun of, like, right now, or whatever. But yeah, Nick, something happened. You guys must have had an interaction or something in his peripheral, because I remember you coming up or whatever. So did you ever have a talk or something?
I had a comment. I didn't know if he. And by the way,
I'm not good friends with Nick Mullen.
Somebody in the chat said I got happy. No, I got concerned because it stresses me out when I find out that, because I just want to put it that whole time behind me. So
no, it wasn't in a bad way. This was when it was.
I know that most people, I think everyone that was like talking about it or knew about it was concerned. Like, I don't think there was anything malicious. It just stresses me out when I find out that anyone was talking about it, because it
wasn't a bad thing like that. It was more like, it was more me. You remember, that Hawaiian chick, Hannah something or other? She does like OF now. She has a raspy voice.
Rochling?
Yeah. So she used to be around, and I remember just saying to somebody, hey, whatever happened to her, that she'd still do stand up? And they're like, kind of, but she's also doing like OnlyFans or whatever.
Right.
So I just in passing was like, hey, you're in New York. What's going on with Dalton? I haven't seen him around. And that's all it was. And he's like, yeah, he's just going through some stuff right now. We're all just worried about him. So it's no big deal, basically.
Yeah. The conversation I had with Mullen was he sat at a table with me one night. Like, I was just sitting by myself, and he was like, hey, is this seat taken? I was like, no, you can sit there. And he was just like, we were just sitting there autistically not talking to each other. And I eventually looked at him and I was like, hey man, you ever have like a psychotic break or anything like that? And he was like, oh yeah, a couple times. And he told me about when the times it happened to him.
Yeah.
Where the first time when he was broke in Austin, and he spent like weeks trying to prove that God exists with math. And he said,
I was the same way. I mean, I was flipping coins like Two-Face. I was not stepping on cracks, like, because I thought it was changing my future. I was like totally embracing the butterfly effect and trying to figure out how I could like grasp some reality and change my life.
Yeah. And so he told me about that, and then he was like trying to prove that God exists, and then he just ended up like breaking down crying because he had a moment of clarity where he thought, like, he was like, yeah, I thought I figured it out. Like, I was finally at peace. And then I thought, but what if I didn't? And then I just like collapsed in the street. And then I don't know. He said it went away after that. And then he mentioned that it happened to him again as that podcast was starting to make money, and he lost like $70,000 in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, we won't talk about our XRP, but
Yeah, he
I'm very
totally-
familiar with what went on with that. I haven't talked to him in a while. My last thing here is June 20th. I said, "Hey, have you seen the 2007 short film My Wife is Retarded?" And he's like, "I have not." And I was like, "It's a 10-minute investment." And I linked it to him, and then no response. And then I said, "Hey, let me know in September when you're at the Wilbur. We'll grab food." And that was July 3rd.
yeah.
So that was it now. Yeah.
But it was like an interesting interaction because we didn't know each other, and
Yeah.
there was no reason for me to. I had just got out of the psych ward, so it was the only thing I was thinking about. There was no reason for me to even ask him that question, but it just like come to find out that he had gone through something very similar.
Yeah.
And he just like opened up about it, so it was meaningful in that to know, because there were a few people that I talked to
Yeah.
who either that had happened to or someone close with them that it happened to, and they were all very like understanding and very compassionate about it.
Yeah. I went through it. I know Nick's gone through it. I talked to, so you know, I met you. I go into your DMs. A bunch of people here. I'm in their DMs. I'm just confident with DMing people, and if they don't respond, no big fucking deal. And I'm confident to go up to them in comedy shows and say hi, whatever. But I mean, way back in the day when Duncan Trussell was going through his breakup, like this is probably a decade ago, I just reached out to him one day and I was like, "Hey, I heard you're going through the shit right now, man. If you need a stranger to talk to, just message me." And like 20 minutes later, he's like, "Yeah, that would actually be pretty cool." And I had a big long talk with Duncan Trussell in DMs or whatever, and he had the same experience.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's weird how many people actually break. There's a lot.
Yeah.
It can happen to anybody. Anybody can snap at any moment, and their mind is just in disrepair for forever long. It's more common than you would think.
yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are going through it and they just don't even recognize it or focus on it to different levels. So you and me went pretty deep, but like Sal, I wish him the best, and I'm not going to talk anything bad. Whatever he's going through, he's going to get through it and he's going to be okay. But you can tell that he's, to a different extent, he's going through some real mental hardships right now with whatever's going on.
Oh yeah, he's very very down in the dumps.
And he probably won't even recognize it fully until he's on the other side of it. Like, if you start losing sleep and not thinking properly, and you get a little bit delusional from lack of REM, and then when you're finally on the other side of it and you're sleeping well, you're like, "Oh man, I was acting like a crazy person. I didn't even like recognize it when I was in the moment."
Yeah. Oh yeah, I couldn't. There was no way for me to recognize it when it was happening to me. Like everybody was telling me, like, "Yo, dude, I don't know what you got to do to fix this, but you're very sick right now."
Yeah.
And it was like, looking back on it, literally every single person I talked to said the same thing. They were all saying like, "Hey man, I love you. Something's wrong. You have to like go to the hospital or something." And I would just be like, "Fuck you don't fucking know anything about me. You don't know what you're talking about."
So that's good, even though you probably can't hear the message. No one said anything to me. I was hanging out in the punk scene and people were just like, "That's Crazy Dave. He hangs out in the punk scene." And I figured it out on my own because I couldn't get a fucking job and I was depressed and I had big bags under my eyes from not sleeping, insomnia, and just fucking being broke mentally. And I was like, I don't know. I guess I'll go to Hot Topic. I'll fit, like, I don't really fit in there, but I was like, I've seen people in there that look like this, like a mess. And I went to Hot Topic and I filled out an application to sell t-shirts. And the guy was like, "Dude, I'm sorry. I can't hire you, man. Look at you."
Yeah.
And that was the first time that somebody was like honest with me. And I was like, I went home and of course I didn't get help. I looked in the mirror and I just would stare at myself until I went crazy, being like, "Okay, I'm looking at myself. What did he see?" what did he see? What for hours? Just like you ever stare in the mirror trying to fucking figure out what's wrong, and
Sure.
like you're just, and then you make yourself nuts. You start not even, you're like, is that even me in the mirror anymore? Because you're looking so long. Don't ever do that. Don't ever look in the mirror at yourself for like over 15 minutes.
Yeah, that was part of like
You'll give yourself psychosis.
that was I mean there was a lot that there were a lot of reasons why the Loud Boys ended, but a big
Loud Boys ended?
yeah, yeah, I don't know if you heard that show's over, but a big part of it I think was that Lewis was letting us use that studio.
Yeah.
And he, when I was going through all that, he had like mandated that we couldn't do that, like we couldn't come back there anymore, at least while I was going through all that.
Yeah.
And then they just decided to just go ahead and end the show anyway, which at the time was very hurt. That hurt. But whatever. I don't hold
good.
No, I was like super fucking angry for a long. I felt like betrayed for a long time, and then looking back on it,
by Lewis, by Ravi,
but because I didn't understand what was going on, I felt a lot of anger and feelings of betrayal to like regarding Robbie and Joe. And looking back on it, I think they didn't. I don't think they knew what to do.
Yeah,
I think for them it was just like, well, we have no clue when this is going to be over, like when he's going to come out of this, and they just were like, oh, we'll just go ahead, the show's over. Now we've been kicked out of the studio. Everything's all.
You guys should have been like, we're too fucking punk rock for Gas Digital.
I mean, we do that now, yeah. Like now. Yeah. Me, Robbie, and Crack, and Sal, and all of us, we're just here on the internet, kind of decentralized.
Yeah.
And it seems to be going well. Like we're progressing and growing. But yeah, at that time, I don't think because like each of us this was like all during the pandemic. So each of our lives were dealing with different turmoil. And so like we were all struggling in our own way, so I think they just like made the best decision they could.
It was
given the circumstances,
or the week before. Crack got me so good on the Crowder Boys, and he wasn't even trying to make a joke, and I was laughing so hard. So, and this is full circle from the Loud Boys. You were telling a bad story. I forget what it was. I commented it in the comments. You were pretty much about to say something about something that happened. And it might have been the story about the OnlyFans girl that it wasn't a dildo.
Oh, and yeah, that girl that was sucking on a turd.
Yeah, so you're going to tell that to Crack, and he earnestly, not Joe Gorman, earnestly goes, "Oh no!" Like when you're about to tell him, and he figures it out before you say it, and he's like, "Oh no!" And I started dying so hard because I was like, Crack's the anti Joe Gorman. He's like earnestly saying, "Oh no," but he's also filled the spot of Joe Gorman in the Loud Boys of the Crowder Boys. So that aspect of it just had me going so bad. And he was just like, the more you watch the Crowder Boys, the more you realize like how much Crack has pulled his life together and stuff that he tries to avoid, like to protect his mental space. So it was so funny for him to just be like, I know what you're about to say right now, and I don't want to know.
Crack is a huge step up from Joe Gorman. He is a much more pleasant, just like creative partner, and also more creative.
Yeah,
he's quite the improvement.
Well, when you listen to his raps and you see how he won the contest or whatever, and all that stuff that's going on, but then when you turn into the show, he is very reflective, and he's figured out a lot of stuff at a much younger age than I did about how to protect himself online from negativity. Not all of it, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that he says that's well thought out. And like when you go into it, what he's doing, the character Crackamico, and you forget that he's an actual person. The person is very different than his Slim Shady character online.
Yeah, Crack the person is very like thoughtful and introspective and like a really sweet guy. And then Crack the performer is ready to burn it all down.
Yeah. It is so it is but being Roger Rabbit is fun, dude. Like
sure. You just have to know how to compartmentalize it because that was
other
like
people are around that are there to have fun too. It's like yeah, you made that song about Tony, but like, was it funny? Because if it was, then shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, then it doesn't matter what the words were. If it was funny, it was funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you just have to understand like when to compartmentalize those things, like when to turn it on and turn it off. Because I've met people, we might have already said someone's name who's like this. It's Joe Gorman.
Oh yeah.
I've met plenty of people like him as well, who just never they never turn it off, and it gets then you realize what it's like to hang out with Roger Rabbit in real life, where you're just like constantly frustrated.
Yeah,
you're like, come on, man.
You're like, dude, literally, my aunt just died. I'm having a really tough time.
Yeah, were you just
you're that lady on that you're that lady at the casino that just got rid of her whole life, and you come over and do a bit.
Yeah, were you just like, come on, dude, like,
yeah,
you've proven that because that's the thing is like, you've proven that you're funny and people like you have some ability. It's fine, turn it off now. Like, nobody acts like this. This is not how people behave.
A love-hate relationship with Ari, because like,
he's a great example where it's like,
I don't think he does it anymore, but like when I used to do we used to do this too when we were younger, and we go out to drink, and like, you're drunk and you're hungry and you just waited in line for a slice of pizza for like 15 minutes, and your buddy just comes up and slaps it out of your hand right before you're gonna eat it.
That's really a funny bit when you're 50.
It is pretty funny, but at the same time, once the joke's over, like it's not funny enough for the amount of pain. Like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So Ari has a lot of bits like that, and sometimes I wonder, like, Zach Amico talks about this, because Ari and him tell two different stories about when Ari threw the piss at him. And Ari's like, and I looked at Zach, and he looked at me, and we locked eyes, and Zach was like, yeah, do it. It's going to be funny. And so I threw the piss at Zach, and Zach's like, that's not what I was saying with my eyes. I was saying, do not do this to me, Ari. That is urine, and I have open cuts on my face. Please don't do this.
I don't think anybody wants piss thrown at them.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, in ending, I don't know how I can help. I'm going to put the links to some of those sites. I'll put a comment when this airs, and I'll put a bunch of links to some resources for you guys that are interested in crypto. Feel free to ask questions in the comments, and you and I can work on this as much or a little as you want. But between a couple of those sites, we could do a talk with one another, and I could show you how to transfer some money to start playing with. Even if you put $100 on one of these sites just to see what it was all about, and you start clicking some buttons, if you lose it all, you lose it all. But if you start figuring it out, then you're like I got my buddy into it. He put $500 in it, and then and now he's like got 10,000 in 2 months later, because he just, once it clicked, he's like, oh, I want to stop eating McDonald's and put all my extra money into this.
I'm not going to stop eating McDonald's.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't had McDonald's in a long time.
It's one of those things where once you see the power of it, it's easier not to waste money on novelty, basically, is the point that I'm making. When you see the power of, like, I could take this $100 and go do this stupid thing with it, or I could put it in here and it's going to generate this money that I can do stupid stuff with.
I'm pretty happy with this puzzle I bought. It's still being delivered. It'll be here tomorrow, but I think
like a paper cardboard puzzle.
It says it's wood. It's a jigsaw puzzle made of wood. Yeah. I'm very excited to put this together.
Because I used to do the other puzzles, the 3-dimensional, not the ones that click together, like mind puzzles. Like, it's like a stick with a ball and like a rope or whatever.
Oh yeah, no, this is This is just like a jigsaw puzzle of a dragon.
Yeah.
Pretty excited.
That's pretty cool.
I like puzzles. I don't play video games that much anymore. And like the things that like what I do now is basically like wine mom activities. Like I read
Yep.
and I like puzzles and I watch shitty fucking shows on Netflix with the Jeff Goldblum Greek butt sex show.
I liked the Wheel of Time.
Really?
So
Ooh, $2. Don't take this $2 and make billions. Thank you, that Sean guy. Well, yeah, if anybody wants to give me money, this is financial advice. Please keep giving me money.
Give Dalton some money before
$5 from Brosa Smith DeFi puzzle money. I have the first Wheel of Time book, and I've read the first 50 pages of that book.
Oh, you read the book. You're probably gonna hate the first season. Then.
I've read the first 50 pages of the first Wheel of Time book about probably like 10 times in my life. I've opened that book and said, I'm actually going to read this now. Yeah. And then it's about 50 pages in, I start sputtering. I just start spinning out. I'm like, yo, this is boring.
So I never watched season 2, and I should because I really like season 1. But what they did is time. I'm reading Robbie.
Robbie's here. Robbie says time fell. That was one of our early riffs on the Loud Boys.
But what they did really well, like if you watch the nuance of it, they take like modern day social justice politics and they intertwine it, which is what people complained about from the storylines. But I didn't read the original books. But I did go online and look over some of the stuff to see how different it was. And they have these different factions of witches in the book, in the show, and each faction has a different relationship with men. And I thought it was really interesting because it shows the different types of feminism. Like there's one group that is heavily reliable on the physical strength of men to protect them, and then there's another group that they go to another whole different side, and they hate men. And then there's like a purity white group, and I don't know, like not like white power purity, like purity white group, like white cloth, and like it actually they make the woman black. That's the white witch, probably to squash that whole idea. But it's a really good show, and they do a good job of having the characters being very like ambiguous without it being like distracting. They do seem like they fit into the world. You know what I mean? It's not like you're watching Nazi Germany versus whatever, and then like there's a big fat Asian dude for diversity playing Hitler.
Right.
Like, yeah, they do a good job of whatever.
People be complaining about that with that Lord of the Rings show that's on now, Rings of Power, where they're doing that on that show, and everybody's like, yo, this is really stupid to do with Lord of the Rings.
I think Blight was pretty good. They handled that pretty well.
Bright with Will Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I think check out Bright.
Yeah. Yeah, this is financial advice. Now,
I actually enjoyed Bright when it came out.
Yeah, I did too. Well, what I really liked about it being a D&D person was they touched on race culturally in a very intelligent way.
I like to see where the wife is watching something on her laptop, and the reveal is it's Joe Rogan interviewing an orc.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot all about that, dude. Yeah. Because it happens in modern day times, and it was when all that stuff was going on. But like, they do a really good job of explaining like class systems and all that stuff, and political power and everything. And then I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a good watch. I think it was good for like teens too that are trying to explore and understand that stuff at that level. I liked it. Am I dumb for liking it?
Yes, but me too. Because it's like it is slop. It's like It's not, I wouldn't say it's a good movie. I just had fun watching it. I was like, this is fun.
Like, so when I watched Coming to America 2, I enjoyed it. Part of it was the the nostalgia of seeing the cameos from Coming to America 1. And my friend was like, dude, I watched it. I fell asleep. It was terrible. Is like, there's like musicals and something like it. But it's like, yeah, but that's what you're signing up for. And it's like, they don't make this type of family friendly, like positive movie where you know it's a movie, kind of like a play. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, but if you sign up for that, like mentally, and you just have fun, I enjoyed it. And
Dude,
everybody's like,
the
you're the worst.
new Beverly Hills Cop is good. Did you
Where
see
can
it?
you watch that?
It's
Is
on
it
Netflix.
I don't have Netflix anymore.
It's actually it doesn't do this the thing where it's like just super referential to the previous movies.
Nope.
It's just another case that he's working. It's just the
The
next
only Lethal
movie.
Weapon that I watch is I like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode. That's it. It's the only one I watch anymore. Where Mac does blackface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't even find it.
Oh, they took it off.
They don't have it up on any like streaming site now. Like because there was that big moral panic about blackface. I guess continuing is still people still panic about it. So like that show, all the times they did blackface on 30 Rock, you can't find. They
No,
like
that's Tracy Morgan.
do what?
That's Tracy Morgan.
Yeah. No, they actually
Hilarious about that. So they do blackface on there, but what's funny about that is like, and maybe that's who he is, but Tracy Morgan's a black guy doing blackface. Like his whole character is the dancing minstrel
right,
on the
come
show.
on now.
No, but like that's the thing. They're like that. I thought that was the satire of the show with him. Like he was doing a smart character, pointing the mirror at society, Dalton.
I guess so, yeah. But then eventually they just do also just to start doing blackface. Because there's a really funny joke where Tracy Morgan his character's in whiteface he's like a white lady. And he's like, me and Jenna are doing a social experiment. And they're like, wait, if you look like this, then what does she look like? It cuts to her. She's in full blackface.
Dude, that show. So I had an ex that loved 30 Rock when it was out fresh. And so her and me were fighting and I refused to watch it. And then we broke up and I was like, I'm never watching Frasier or 30 Rock because she watched it and I'm going to hold this grudge forever. And then one day I started watching 30 Rock and I was like, this is probably the last great comedy now that was ever on the air as far as I'm concerned. And then I just was like, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't watch it because now I'm going to binge the fuck out of it. And I just watched it all.
I watched it as it was on because me and Robbie have talked about this, that we didn't know what we had back then because that was when I was watching those lineups and there was a point in time when on one Thursday night on NBC, you got 30 Rock, Community, The Office, and Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty stellar as a stacked lineup for NBC because now I ain't watching. I don't know what they're even. People say Abbott Elementary is good. I'm not watching a second of it. You'll never catch me watching that shit. I have no respect for teachers.
So good. So Community was so good. It got a little tiresome, and then they were like playing up the fact that they were doing repeats. So it was like breaking the fourth wall of the.
You know the story that the first 3 seasons are great. They fired Dan Harmon, and so the 4th season is a steep drop in quality. It's very bad. Dan Harmon came back. 5th season's great, and then I don't know why the show left NBC, and then the 6th season streamed on like some early Yahoo something. It was exclusive to like Yahoo's online streaming platform at the time because this was before streaming had really like secured itself where you know they had the big platforms. They didn't know what they were doing, I guess.
I think so Chevy Chase's character on Community and Alec Baldwin's character on 30 Rock, if you could have just taken Society, right, and brought comedy right up to that and not like started making fun of white dudes further, I think you could have kept everybody happy forever. Like, yeah, we are like that. We do only like photos of horses and sailboats. Like,
Yeah, those are brilliant
you just
characters.
ended it right there, dude. I think like the 90s, early 2000s, everything was figured out, and they went too far because there's so many like lines that are called sexist now. But when Jack Donaghy's Liz Lemon is learning to be like a CEO or whatever, and they're
I think they were sexist then. I think that was the joke.
yeah, and so she was like, man, she's like, thanks for all the help, Jack. I really feel like a businesswoman. It's like, well, I mean, I don't believe that's a word, but yes, you're welcome.
Right.
It's just so many lines like that are just like, and he's like, she runs into his office and it's like, Jack, you're wearing a full tuxedo. And he's like, yeah, it's after 6 p.m. What am I, a farmer, Lemon?
Dude, I love that line where he asks her, what do you have in savings? And she's like, I have $12,000 in checking. And he goes, what are you, an immigrant?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they could have just kept that right there, like, and not push it any further or pull it back and forth, I think we could solve like all America's problems right now between that and even the Chevy Chase with is it Donald Glover? That's it's a Childish Gambino rapper.
Yeah.
Or is that the guy from Lethal Weapon? But when he was tweeting out like racist white guy stuff and Chevy Chase is like oblivious to it, I guess Chevy Chase in real life was getting really upset about that because it was right at the point where this stuff was going on. And so in real life, he was getting attacked and he didn't like how the way his character was going. He's like, listen, there's so many stupid idiots in public that like think that's really me and you're ruining my real life and like all this stuff. So they had a big blowout. I don't know if it was over money or whatever. In the end, they said that he blasted an N-bomb at Glover. And so he got fired. I don't know if that's true or not, or if that's hearsay, but
I can't remember exactly.
Characters were like, I just think it was peak. Like everybody would have been fine with that amount of racial joking and sexist joking, and just don't magnify it up or down. Just keep it right there, and I think everything would have been fine.
Right. Well, we have we're just going through some growing pains before we get back to. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I certainly don't derive a lot of enjoyment from most of what's on. What's like considered entertainment now.
No, I'm even getting burnt out on the podcast circuit.
I don't
find new stuff to like tickle that like a part of my brain now. You watch so much comedy that they can't misdirect you anymore, and you stop laughing. It's like,
I don't tune in.
That was good. Oh, that was quick. And then once in a great while, somebody hits you with something that you didn't see coming. But it's like you watch too much of it and your misdirection part of your brain can't get anymore.
Yeah, I don't tune in much of anything, but I don't really listen to podcasts that much. There's one I listen to, it's called 8 Hour Sleep Music. It's an 8-hour track of white noise to help you go to sleep. There's a new one every week. This is October, so each week
white noise is just Jack Donaghy swirling ice around in a whiskey cup, talking about sailboats.
No, I'm excited. No, it's October, so each week in October, it's a new 8-hour track of Halloween themed white noise. So,
this is true.
Yes.
What you tell me is not like I knew it was true, but I thought you were just going on YouTube and being like, okay.
No, it's an actual. I go on Spotify.
They change it every couple of days.
Every week there's a new one. I go on Spotify and I got it. I'm subscribed to 8 Hour Sleep Music.
Dude, that's fucking genius. Actually, whoever created that, they don't talk, right?
No, there's an introduction where the guy's like, "Welcome to 8 Hour Sleep Music," and then there's a quick ad.
Yeah,
and then after that, it's just like rain on a car roof.
Is that monetized?
I guess so, because they have a Patreon. They got
the watch hours has got to be up the roof because everybody that puts it on before they go to bed is getting an 8-hour watch at time.
Yeah, I don't know. I listen on Spotify. Like I was just, what's the latest one? We'll get out of here on this.
Yeah,
check out 8 Hour Sleep Music. Castle of Shadows, 8-hour spooky castle ambiance for Halloween.
But sometimes I worry that they're putting subliminal messages in there. What if the Russians are programming Tim Pool through those?
I don't know, man. It just helps me go to sleep. It just calms me down.
Then they're giving you subliminal. You are gay. Your
It
penis.
also helps me like concentrate. Like if I'm reading a book, I put on
Yeah.
spooky castle noise, the
I
whatever
put
that.
on the concentration movie. Everybody's done this one. It's the one with the chick, the Asian or like ambiguous cartoon of a girl with a cat by the window with the headphones on.
Oh yeah, lo-fi hip hop beeps to study / relax to. Yeah.
yeah. Everybody does that. So, all right. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy Robbie and Dalton and their upcoming project. I guess starting right after this.
Oh yeah, me, Robbie, and Sal are going to be on Robbie's channel at 9:00 Eastern tonight to talk about Blade Runner. And so I hope Sal actually watched the right movie. But Dave, this was great. Thank you for doing this.
I wish I could have helped you guys better. I always enjoy talking to you. Thanks for having me. If I could help you guys with crypto, hit me up.
No, it's fun, man. You're very insightful and you're knowledgeable. Myself, look, I am starting to wrap my head around it. The chat, they don't get it. It seems like Croyd appreciates it, the money talk, the crypto DeFi, but it seemed like the chat was pretty confused for most of that. But I think we put on a stellar program, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, same. Anytime you need a Mediterranean backup for corn-fed, just hit me up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I've been talking Degen stuff with Drew Flores lately, and I was like, I gotta get Dave back in the mix, so someone who actually understands money.
I think I can become a multimillionaire within the next year.
And I was thinking the same thing.
I'm going to do that through the meme coin pumps. I'm starting to learn how you can follow these wallets of these guys that are consistently making money. And some people are just putting in like $100 and it's making like 40K. It's fucking insane. I haven't done it because I'm a pussy and I need to take more risks. But one of the things I appreciate, and I know we're going to end it on this, is like you shouldn't be doing, I'm not your father, but you shouldn't be doing slot machines and all that stuff. But losing the money in the stock market is kind of like stock market college is how I look at it. Like you've probably learned a ton of shit out of necessity of how to research and what to look at and where to go, hopefully, on the stock market stuff from having skin in the game. You don't get that from the slot machines and the gambling or whatever. So no. I don't think that that this is maybe unpopular opinion, but like the fact that you're taking chances shows that you want out of the cage. I did the same thing. I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in my lifetime and gambled it away and trying to figure it out. But like, if you don't ever do that, then you're just working your 9 to 5, putting it in a savings account and hoping that the government takes care of you, which we've learned recently they're not going to.
I will say, putting yourself in a position where your back is against the wall, like when you just fucking lose a ton of money and you're like really trying to claw your way out of a shitty situation, by necessity will, if you can find the reach inside and start finding that spark, will allow you to make more money than you would have otherwise.
Yeah, I do this all the time, working under pressure. Oh, I gotta, you guys should check out Dalton. This is what I want to tell you about, and maybe not good if you get gout or whatever. I've been making 24-hour pickles.
Okay.
Everybody check out 24-hour pickles, dude. They're really cheap, dude. No, because pickles are super expensive. Like to get a good crispy pickle.
Right.
You can just get a jar, like a mason jar. You fill it halfway with apple cider vinegar, halfway with water. And then I put mustard seeds and peppercorns in there and like a bay leaf. You can put whatever you want in there, garlic chunks, hot peppers. And then you just get those packs of like cucumbers. They're mini cucumbers. They're like anywhere from 99 cents to $1.99.
Yeah.
You just like cut them up, put them in there overnight, and you have overnight pickles, dude. You don't even need to boil them or anything like that.
Now this is good. Now I think this is good advice that everybody can follow. I
Dude.
appreciate this because I'm always
Dude,
looking for a
overnight
good
pickles,
pickle.
dude, I've eaten like fucking 6 jars of overnight pickles in the past week, dude. I have to keep going to the store.
Dude,
every
I'm
day.
a sucker
But
for
it's like
pickles.
$2. It's only $2 for the tiny cucumbers or whatever. It's $1.99, and like the other ones are like $6 for the jar of like the good crispy pickles.
Dude, pickles is one of them things where if I see a jar of pickles that is for some reason astronomically expensive, I'm like, well, I got to find out why
Yeah.
these are so. I got to try these.
So if you don't eat them, if you wait like 48 hours, they start to turn smushy, like store-bought pickles that are sitting in the vinegar and stuff. But it's not pickle juice. You know what I mean? You're not heating it up or whatever. You're not sealing it. You're just putting it in water and apple cider vinegar, and then like whatever. And then I slice them up and put them in there. And I take the fork and I take the outside and like score it so that the bark of it or whatever it's called, the skin of the cucumber lets it saturate in there too. But you probably don't have to do that, dude. And you wait like 12 to 24 hours. 12 hours, it'll be like crispy, but 24, you get like a full saturation of the vinegar taste. Cheap, delicious. Highly recommend people check out overnight pickles, dude.
Hey, make your own pickles.
Squash and overnight pickles, dude. That's what I've been living off, dude. I'm down 5 pounds.
All right.
All right. Hey,
Thank
thanks
you,
for hanging
Dave.
out, guys. Yeah, it's good seeing you, Dalton.
Yeah, I'll be reaching out to have you back on for sure.
Yeah, anytime.
I
gotta go
just hit you with the Sagalo, dude. I'll never talk to you again.
I gotta check my schedule, dude. No, I wasn't. We're really going, but I wasn't saying anything bad about Sagalo. I was kind of saying, like, I'm naive in the fact that I'm very blunt. So when somebody's using niceties with me, I don't recognize it.
Right.
Like nuance doesn't always flow for me in social situations like that.
That's all good. It's all good, man. I didn't think you were saying anything bad about him. I was just,
a jihad on Sagalo.
A jihad on Sagalo,
yeah.
All right. Thank you to the chat. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This is not financial advice. And that's the show. And I'm ending the stream now.